I'm Jordan Burrs, and I'm going to be your host for the entire FIFA World Cup 2022. We'll be posting daily predictions, betting tips on this channel. So if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future content. Before we dive into the England-Iran game, Senegal-Netherlands, and USA-Wales, I have an offer for you from BetMGM. All you have to do is deposit $10, bet $10, and if either team scores in the World Cup, so let's say you bet on England, Iran, and if just England score, then BetMGM will give you $200 in your bankroll. It's basically free money. Bet on a massive favorite, and you should be getting $200 in your account. So click the link in the description below, or it'll be pinned in the first comment. Without further ado, let's jump into the England versus Iran game. Now, heading into this game, Iran are officially the best Asian team on the planet. They've only lost one competitive game in the last 3 years, and they're coming up against England, who are the clear favorites to not only top this group, but to win this game. We know the form that England have been in lately. They didn't win a game in the Nations League, losing 2 to Hungary and 1 to Italy. Gareth Southgate needs to turn this around, find some energy from somewhere, because the first game is very, very important. If England beat Iran, they sort of have half a foot into the knockout stages. Players like Harry Kane, the 2018 Golden Boot winner, Phil Foden, Saka, Grealish, Raheem Sterling are all going to have to come to the party, because we know how bad their attack has been of late. On the other side, Iran boast Taremi. Taremi has been in incredible form for Porto in the Champions League, scoring in his 5 last appearances. Iran are going to rely heavily on Taremi, and he's going to have to put some pressure on England if they are looking to beat them. England are not hot starters in the World Cup. In 2002, in their opener, they drew 1-1 to Sweden. In the 2006 opener, they just snuck past Uruguay 1-0. In 2010, they drew to the USA. 2014, they lost to Italy. And in 2018, they beat Tunisia 2-1 in injury time. So don't tell me this Iran team don't have a chance in this game. Now, I could see this being a low-scoring game, and eventually England get that last-minute goal. So my bet for this one is England to win and under 3.5 goals at odds of -145. Next up, Senegal taking on Netherlands. Now, this is the biggest clash in Group A. Obviously, Senegal being AFCON winners, Netherlands have been in great form themselves. Senegal do boast a good defense, but without Sadio Mane, they don't have that many attacking threats. We saw how bad they were in the round robin of the AFCON, not scoring many goals and just creeping into the knockout stages. Now, if you take away their main man, Sadio Mane, I don't see any way they can get through this very, very good Netherlands defense. Netherlands are 15 games unbeaten at the moment, and their defenders like Van Dijk, De Vrij, De Ligt, Dumfries, Timber, and Ake are not going to make it easy for the Senegalese attack to get through. Not only is Netherlands' defense good, but I think their attack is absolutely going to overwhelm the Senegalese defense with Memphis Depay, Gakpo, and Bergwijn. This Netherlands team is one of the most underrated teams, I think, in the competition, and I don't see any reason why they can't beat the Senegal team quite comfortably. So my prediction and betting tip for this is Netherlands to win 2-0, or Netherlands and both teams to score no at odds of +140. Then finally, the USA taking on Wales. Now, both of these teams will feel like they can make it into the knockout stages. It is a little bit strange that we're having sort of a deciding match for the group rounds so early on. Whoever wins this game between USA and Wales will, again, like Netherlands, if they beat Senegal, have 1 foot in the knockout stages. They could have started by playing England and getting off to a rough start like I think Iran will, but no, either one of these teams with a win could almost secure themselves a knockout stage victory. The problem is, both of these teams haven't been in good form. Wales are coming off 3 back-to-back losses in the Nations League, and USA were very uninspiring in their 2-0 loss against Japan, and then a 0-0 draw against Saudi Arabia. Now, if you ask the man on the street or the bookies, I think they would say the same thing, that this match is a coin toss. No one really knows what's going to happen, but for me, I'm leaning slightly towards USA. Yes, Wales have pace, and they're going to hit the USA on a counter-attack, which USA aren't that good at defending. However, USA do play with a high press, and Wales don't like to hold the ball at the back. The odds do suggest that this is going to be a low-scoring game, but I feel like it's going to be more of a high-scoring game, maybe a 2-1, 2-2 scoreline, just because of the style of play between these two teams. I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities, and players like Gareth Bale and Pulisic are going to have to take them for USA and Wales. So for me, my best tip here in a high-scoring game, I'm going both teams to score at odds of plus 110. So just to recap all three bets, the England-Iran game, I'm going England to win and under 3.5 goals. Senegal-Netherlands, I'm going Netherlands to win and both teams to score no. And in the USA-Wales game, I'm going both teams to score. My name's Jordan Burrs. You can find me at Jordan Burrs on any social media platform. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Shopper channel and go deposit that $10 in your BetMGM account to win $200 if any team scores. We'll see you tomorrow for another daily prediction. Until then, keep safe and peace.
Are you escaping the snow, Ryan?
I'm in Michigan. There's not been much snow here.
Yet.
How far are you from Orchard Park?
He's in it.
Have you left? What have you been doing?
All right, Stokastic, here we go. It's your old pal EMac coming to you on a Saturday evening as we get into a 4-game NBA slate. Feels like an MLB split slate. We've got a 7 o'clock, a 7:30, a 10, and a 10:30 tonight. What the heck are we going to do in those 2.5 hours between? Oh, we're going to watch a game, and then we're probably going to watch some college football. It's going to be a good one. I'm joined by Rinpack. Rayen, how is your alma mater doing? How are I think Michigan was playing earlier today. I believe they're 17-point favorites.
Yeah, they definitely did not cover the 17. They won on a last minute field goal. They won by 3. Shout out to Jake Moody. He kicked 4 field goals as Michigan had to battle the second half without Blake Corum. So that was probably the most nerve-wracking Michigan game in a while, as on the other side, Chase Brown's an elite running back himself. I do think both of these running backs have a spot in the league, but Michigan grabbing that win was nice to start off this Saturday afternoon. Hopefully we can take care of that momentum in the DFS streets tonight.
Yeah, I was busy and not watching the game, so I guess my parlay is going to fail because I think I had Michigan minus 17 as one of the legs. I should have taken the under, I guess, in that game. But using the excellent picks provided by Ben Rossa, Matt Gajeski, Isaiah Siros puts in some Laffy, Shander, Greg, Lindy. It's a whole crew of people. So it's a lot of fun. We can kind of tail their picks on different things. Ben and Matt usually each put out between 6 and 10 college football and now college basketball wagers that they like. I usually try to triangulate, see if anything crossover. And then, of course, you get those parlay boost deals by constructing these gigantic things and, throw 10 or 20 bucks in and have a chance to win $1,000 or $2,000. Haven't hit one yet, but it's still fun nonetheless. And then set them up as round robins, because just in case something were to get most of the way there, that turns out to be my most profitable. It's actually been the round robins. So it's good times. But we'll get into the slate here. A lot of the injury news, considering we only have 8 teams in action, quite a few back-to-backs here. Cole Anthony and Paolo Banchero remain out for Orlando, as does Moritz Wagner. Gary Harris probably not going to play tonight. This is a back-to-back. He did play last night. He did play last night. That was his first game of the season. So obviously they'll be taking it easy with him. Wendell Carter Jr., this is going to be the interesting one. Dealing with plantar fasciitis, or fasciitis. I don't want to mumble that one. I've tried to learn how to pronounce it correctly, but he's got foot issues. So he did play last night. This is a back-to-back. He has only missed one game thus far, but it was on Tuesday. So we'll have to see, or Tuesday or Wednesday, we'll have to see if he's going to play. We should have that news, obviously, before tip-off. We also lost Tyrese Maxey last night. He's going to miss probably at least 5 games, it sounds like, potentially more with a foot injury. Tobias Harris did not play last night with a sore hip. He was changed to doubtful. He was, I think, questionable as a placeholder, but when we got the latest injury updates, he moved to doubtful. Those are really the main people there. Oh, not to bury the lead, Tyrese Halliburton, questionable as well. Tweaked his ankle at the very end of the game last night when the Pacers ended up winning 99-91 against the Rockets. So some moving parts here. It's going to be all Joel Embiid all the time. Let's just hit that on a quick high note before we break down the games, Ryan. Embiid has almost a 20-point fantasy advantage over everybody else in the player pool. Slight exaggeration, but it is over 15 on both FanDuel and DraftKings. How many lineups do you want to make without Embiid?
Oh, it is really tough to make lineups without Joel Embiid. Almost everything is going for him. No Maxey, potentially no Tobias Harris. Embiid might shoot the ball 30 times in the first half. I mean, if Philadelphia wants any shot of winning this game, Embiid has to touch the ball in every single possession. And if you don't know, him and Kat do have a little back and forth friendly history, and he does. Those two definitely go at each other. But granted, this time around, there's Rudy Gobert on the other side of things. Now, there's a lot of reasons to play Embiid. That's for sure. Now, the one reason I think you can definitely not play him is ownership being one of them. The opportunity cost is certainly very, very high. And it's a back end of a back-to-back. And Joel Embiid had a situation earlier this season where Doc Rivers says he's not in conditioning. And that's not a good enough reason for not to consider him in play, just because, man, at the upside, the opportunity cost, he's going to play north of 36 plus minutes, barring any foul trouble. I mean, Embiid looks awesome. Like, he's been amazing the last 2 games out. I expect no different this time around, and all the usage should go through Joel Embiid. So going back to your original question, if I'm building one lineup, almost certainly Joel Embiid is probably going to have to fall in there. It just seems foolish not to do so.
All right, and we'll get into all the Philly minutes. I see Christopher left us a $5 super chat to talk about Philly minutes. Not to worry, friend. We will definitely get into those. We'll do that as our second game. And then Avi Schreier said he was one switch away from $100,000 FanDuel first place last night. Just needed Mobley and Washington instead of Bogdanovich and Randall in that lineup. He had them on plenty of his other builds, just not that lineup. So close. So close.
Well,
when was your last 6-figure win, Ryan? Has it been a hot minute here?
Yeah,
Steve seems to get all of them these days.
Yeah, Steve is looking to buy a private island somewhere along the coast of whatever ocean you want to name. Maybe the Pacific Island. Steve Buzzard it's been his game. We're just playing in it and just donating to the Buzzard Bank of late. So that's how it's been for Steve. It's been I think my last one was in April, but not April, March.
Okay. So NBA playoffs or close.
No, not the playoffs. The playoffs were pretty actually brutal for me. But it was I think towards the latter half, like the last month of the regular season. Gotcha. I've been close. I've had some bad beats in NFL Showdown, but yeah, that's why we play this game every day, to give ourselves a shot.
Absolutely. All righty. Let's take a peek here. Hey, everybody, give us a like and subscribe. That always does help us out. I see we've got over 700 people watching, not even 100 likes yet. Come on. We've got Rimpack here looking like the man in black, giving me a little homage there to Johnny Cash. Perhaps he'll sing as we get towards the end of the show, or maybe I will. We'll see what happens there. But you can check out all of our content on the various awesome Stokastic podcast platforms. I've subscribed to our Odd Shopper podcast. podcast. I got to listen to today when I was out walking and doing errands. Laffy, Shander, and Ben Rossa breaking down every single game from a betting angle for tomorrow's Sunday football. So that's a lot of fun. Don't forget, we have more than just the main channels. We've broken out to several sub channels just because we don't want to overwhelm you with the over 20 pieces of content we put out every day in an auditory or video fashion. Are you much of a podcast fan, Rayen?
I'm a massive podcast fan. I listen to, I don't know, so many podcasts throughout the week. I'm just like a content abuser. I just listen to whatever's out there for all sort of sports. And like, I really enjoy like the mainstream podcasts that are out there on all sorts of different content, not just sports as well. So I really understand. It's been really interesting. The podcasting just boom in the last 5 years. Like I think during the start of the pandemic, everyone just sat down and all the A-list celebrities were like, all the millennial influencers were like, let's just create a podcast. I can make a lot of money doing so. And things have the podcast scene has definitely evolved over the last 5 years, very much so. So it's been very interesting to see the boom of that.
Alrighty, let's dive on into the game here. We'll get to Avi's chat there when we get to that game, but we've got Orlando at Indiana tonight here. Last I looked, I pulled these about 45 minutes ago, but Orlando favored by 6.5 or underdogs by 6.5. Indiana 224 over under here. This is a back-to-back for both teams. Last night, Orlando won in Chicago, beating the Bulls 108-107. It's also a 3-4 for Chicago. For Orlando. As we mentioned, they'll be without Cole Anthony, Paolo Banchero, and Harris is doubtful. Questionable is I want to say Willie Cauley-Stein is Wendell Carter Jr. And then on the Indiana side, again, this is a back-to-back for them, also a 3-4. They beat the Rockets last night, 99-91. It's like I'm reading everything backwards. I should have had more caffeine before the show. Halliburton questionable with an ankle. Last night he played 36 minutes. Buddy Hield played 33 for Orlando. We had Wendell Carter Jr. play 34, Suggs 34, Wagner, that would be Franz Wagner 33, and Bol Bol 31. Talk to us here about the Magic. Do you think Wendell Carter Jr. will play tonight?
Yes, I'm going to make just kind of a lean here. I do think Wendell Carter Jr. plays tonight. And with Carter Jr. coming back into play, it ruins a lot of things. But the one thing that's definitely going for him, it's the Indiana matchup on the other side of things. This game is one of the second highest total on the slate right now. So I do think Carter Jr. plays, and with him coming back, it just muddies the situation in the front court. I mean, Bamba's minutes will definitely drop. Bol's minutes might drop a little bit. And Wendell Carter Jr. does take up some usage as well. And Chuma Okeke might lose a handful of minutes there as well. So it really hurts the situation for Orlando. While it's the matchup that looks awesome, certainly in a 4-game slate, can 2 or 3 guys against Indiana get the job done? Definitely. But Wendell Carter Jr. coming back only certainly helps him. While with the price tag being certainly a thing here, these guys are getting some ownership across all 3 sites. Franz Wagner being the lead guy, getting the highest amount of ownership on DraftKings, FanDuel, and Yahoo. He goes from 6,800 on, I believe, both sites on DraftKings and FanDuel, and comes in at a nice $25 on Yahoo. I have no interest in getting above that projected ownership. I mean, 32% projected ownership and 40% projected ownership on FanDuel. It seems like with the fuel type of play, Wagner with Carter Jr. coming back, I don't expect him to put up 40 plus fantasy points. That would be a ceiling type of game. I feel like a number like that is when you really would want Wagner to pay off. Granted, Wagner is a very special talent, and shout out to Michigan, obviously, but I do think Franz Wagner seems like I'm okay coming under the field with Wagner with this projected ownership. I just think he just makes roster construction builds fit based on optimizers and hand builds. That's why I think he's coming in with some ownership here. I really don't have that much interest in going to Bol because those minutes might drop to from low 30s to potentially low to mid 20s. It's a tough situation for me to have a significant amount of interest in Bol. I mean, on FanDuel, where you get those extra points for blocks, I mean, Bol looks fine at $6,400, $6,200 on DraftKings. He seems okay. I mean, nothing that interests me that much. It's a really tough situation. This team in a 4-game slate is getting ownership for sure because it's Indiana on this other side of things. I think I just maybe take my chances with the backcourt with Suggs comes in at 5,900 on DraftKings and 6,200 on FanDuel. I just think Suggs minutes are safe. I do think the way his usage works out with Carter Jr., he might lose some, but he can still facilitate and find a way to getting there. So Suggs might be the way to go here on Orlando for the pricing situation. He's only 21 over there on Yahoo. So it's a tough situation. Now, if Carter Jr. is out, pretty much whatever I just said for the last 2 minutes doesn't mean much. All these guys look like solid to / excellent plays. I just think Carter Jr. does muddy the situation here.
Yes, and the one, so I think we'll talk about, or you will talk about some of the cheaper Indiana forwards that are kind of the counter move to Bol. I did recommend yesterday the under on 9.5 rebounds for Bol. Of course, he got 10 just to gobsmack me. I would definitely go over 9. The number's 9.5 again tonight. He does play, he starts alongside Willie Cauley-Stein. And I just felt that going against Chicago, there was going to be less or more rebounders on the court that would keep him from getting to 10. That's a hard number to get to, especially looking at some of his teammates. If we do end up getting word that Willie Cauley-Stein is out, my first move is going to go take the over on the 9.5 for that one. Guys and gals, if you're not aware, I can get you 2 free months of Stokastic premium content. If you have not yet signed up for BetMGM, you can do so by going in through the link here below us, or if you have a Stokastic account, click on the BetMGM button. That will take you over to BetMGM. Create your account, put in a deposit, put in $10, make your first wager of $10, and when that settles, you're going to get 2 free months of Stokastic premium content. But wait, there's more. Your first bet can be up to a $1,000 risk-free bet. Essentially, how that works is if you lose your bet, well, if you win, congratulations. If you lose, you get a series of free bets that you can then use again. So it's kind of a win, half win, I guess, because there is no risk, but your money's still in site credits, but you're going to be spending that over there anyway. So you can do it in any amount up to $1,000. So a lot of fun. But just say you live in a state that doesn't have sports wagering, and you're visiting a friend or some family over the holidays, and they do have sports wagering. You can sign up for any of the betting sites when you're in those states. That would make you eligible for the Stokastic offer. So word to the wise there, a way to get in with 2 months of Stokastic premium content if you are not yet a BetMGM user. Let's move over here to the Pacers side of things. Some people were asking early in the earlier show that we did today with Adam if he thought that Miles Turner may get the night off here on the back-to-back. I don't think that's going to be an issue, but I do believe he'll probably still play upper 20s, low 30s minutes. They haven't really been putting a lot of pressure on him this season. It's nice to see him have power forward eligibility over there on FanDuel. Makes it a little easier to roster him there. He's center only on DraftKings, but of course we can play 2 centers by utilizing the utility spot. What do you like here from the Pacers? I guess not to bury the lead, you think Halliburton's in or out?
My lean here is Halliburton's going to be out. And with Halliburton out, this team becomes a bit more interesting in what could certainly happen. With Halliburton out, I do think everyone's going to jump to TJ McConnell. And I'm excited to take my chances on McConnell if he starts and he goes. But I don't know what Rick Carlisle is going to do. And Rick Carlisle is always a tough fucking read. There's a good chance that Andrew Nembhard can start. And if Nembhard starts, I'll definitely take my chances with Andrew Nembhard. He is a solid option to go to. And I do think people... models and everything, everyone's just accustomed to, okay, McConnell's the backup point guard, he might start. I do think there is a chance that Andrew Nembhard does get the start here, and I will definitely take my chances with Andrew Nembhard if he starts. He comes in 3,900 on DraftKings, 4,400 on FanDuel, and there's even merit in taking some chances on Nembhard if he doesn't even start. That's how much I have some interest in Nembhard. With Halliburton out, Buddy Hield might get some more usage for sure. 6,700, 7,200 on FanDuel, 3-point bonus on DraftKings. Makes a lot of sense to take advantage of the $22 price tag on Yahoo as well. Buddy Hield looks awesome. I think he should get all the usage if his minutes don't get messed around with. Benedict Matherin's another option. This team is going to look really outstanding without no Halliburton. I just think there's a lot of usage to flow around, some facilitating the float around as well. Matherin is very scoring dependent. $20 on Yahoo, comes in at 5,700 on DraftKings. He's a certified bucket, but you're definitely going to need the scoring to do so. It's Orlando on the other side. There should be no limitations of him getting whatever he wants if he gets the ball and the usage. So if the ball floats through him, the front court might get some usage. Like you said, Miles Turner has been tough. I mean, he's not been getting 30 plus minutes that often. Can he pay it off in an Orlando matchup? Sure, but I would love to see 30 plus minutes to have that more confidence and more likely outcome. Not getting much ownership right now. Sub 10% across the board, I believe, except on FanDuel where he's 7,900, where he has power forward eligibility as well. So he has obviously tournament winning upside. And if you want to go above the field on Miles Turner, I won't fault you. It's not something I feel comfortable doing right now just because Embiid's on the slate. And if there's a guy in the front court who I want to take some options with, maybe I'm trying to get lucky with Jalen Smith. He looked outstanding last night. $4,800, $5,300 Jalen Smith. Tournament play, $14 on Yahoo. It's there's risk to him. He can pick up fouls, can get disengaged on offense. You really need a lot of things to go for you, but it's the Pacers backcourt for me. I mean, keep an eye on who starts. Nembhard might get the lead ball handling duty, but if TJ McConnell starts, let's ride with TJ McConnell. Time and time again, we've seen him pay off that price tag dating back to when he was with Philly, and he's just scrappy player, just finds a way to fill up the box score. He's not don't expect double-digit points from him, but you can definitely expect a nice, potentially like a 7-7 game with a few rebounds, a few steals, and McConnell's on his way to helping you jam in Embiid and some other studs on the slate. So important news is Halliburton. If Halliburton plays, I expect him to be good to go. He looks outstanding, but I find it tough to see Halliburton playing. It's obviously 50-50, but I do think he rolled that ankle enough where he didn't have to come back. I know it was towards the end of the game, so
he came out with I was trying to look at the game flow box score. It looked like about 90 seconds left in the game is when he came out. I was just eyeballing it because it was a little sliver because I thought it happened midway through the fourth quarter. It actually happened much closer to the end of the game. Yeah,
so that's interesting to keep an eye on. I mean, end of the game, I do think they were up enough where it didn't matter. The difference was like, I guess he didn't want to.
At that point, I think they were up about 7, so he didn't really need to be there. I see chat. Deep breaths, everybody. Yes, we know Nembhard is starting, but he's starting as the shooting guard for the last 5 games. Big difference. If McConnell comes in next to him, that means his role is not going to change. His responsibilities will not morph quite as much. He'll still get some more ball handling and facilitation duties, but he won't be the main guy. We're sort of saying if it's McConnell that's not put in the lineup, if it ends up being somebody else, that makes Nembhard the point guard. That means he's going to get the keys to the car. That's the difference there in this one. So deep breaths, but we got you. And I noticed, did you talk this whole team without saying your favorite player in the entire league?
Oh no, I brought him up. I think right after I talked about Nembhard. Okay. Look, Buddy Hield, he can also find himself. I like that he's been playing north of 30 minutes more consistently now. And if Halliburton's out, I do think Rick Carlisle shouldn't be messing around with more of his minutes. Like, I think Buddy Hield is a fine option to go to. It looks like a solid Franz Wagner pivot, in my opinion.
Okay. Anything else from this game, or should we head over to the 7:30 contest?
No, this is really about it. I think Halliburton injury news is the most important news piece of the night, outside of the Jakob Poeltl way late, the last game of the night. So we need to see what the Halliburton news looks like. So,
all righty, on to Minnesota at Philadelphia. So Philadelphia, this is a back-to-back for them. They took care of business last night against the Milwaukee Bucks. Yes, it did help that Giannis missed 11 of his 15 free throws, but they still ended up winning, by 8 points? That was 110-102. Nice work for them, considering they lost Maxey midway through the game. Obviously, no Harden. They didn't have Tobias Harris last night. Harris is been downgraded to doubtful, or clarified as doubtful, with a sore hip again. DeAnthony Melton has been dealing with a sore back. He played 36 minutes last night. I suspect he'll play it tonight. Embiid played 37 minutes last night. We saw PJ Tucker get 32. Daniel House moved into the starting lineup for Tobias Harris. He had 31. Georges Niang had 30. So that's, these guys played a healthy amount of minutes. Minnesota, on the other hand, the last time they played is Wednesday. They do not play again until Monday at home versus Miami. They are coming into this as 3.5 point favorites, 218 over under on this one. Let's start off with the Minnesota side. Mostly healthy, reasonably priced, aside from getting to play Karl-Anthony Towns now as a power forward. Kind of tough to pinpoint any particular player here. Could Anthony Edwards have a good game? You betcha. Could Karl-Anthony Towns? Of course he could. Could Rudy Gobert? We'll see what happens with the Stifle Tower, but he gets into some blocks there. I did go look at past history. Did you know only twice in the regular season over the last 3 years have Gobert and Embiid squared off? I didn't realize that. I by hook or by crook or by COVID or whatever it was, only twice during the regular season, the last 3 years. A little bit odd.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't. Yeah, they would only play each in the regular season because
2 times a year. Yeah.
Yeah, I know they both done decently well against each other in terms of like their price perspective. I mean, Gobert really hasn't found a way to slow down Embiid in terms of just projection wise, but.
Yeah, I think one of the games was like 30 minutes and Embiid scored 19. And I think the other one, I think he played 40 minutes, but he scored 40 points. So he had like a 70-point game or a fantasy game. So not too worried about his inside out game working. Only concern is it's a back-to-back and we'll see what happens. But talk us through Minnesota here.
Yeah, just got word. I mean, we'll touch on him. Maxi's going to be out 3 to 4 weeks per Woj. So a big backcourt hole for the Sixers going forward. But on the Minnesota side of things, Karl-Anthony Towns up top, $8,793 and $40. Got to have some interest in Cat. He on the power forward end. I mean, if he's going to go back against the basket, it's going to be interesting to see how Doc Rivers deploys this matchup. Tough to see Georges Niang slowing him down, or does he dust off a front court of Paul Reed and Embiid for this Gobert Cat matchup? I doubt it. I mean, Daniel House or PJ Tucker is going to have to be able to man him, or Matisse Thybulle. So Cat should just eat. I mean, the ball should touch Cat a lot, and he should just be actively involved in the game plan. So Cat looks great at $8,700. I like him even at $9,300. There's going to hopefully enough value to get him in there. Now, a guy that I want to touch on is D'Angelo Russell. D'Angelo Russell, we talked about him on last Sunday. I poo-pooed him, and he ended up having the best game of the season. Now, D'Angelo Russell has now been playing consistently well over 30-plus minutes of late. I'll take 30-plus minutes of D'Angelo Russell now in this matchup. I think, he might get thrown some Melton at him, but D'Angelo Russell in this 4-game slate, if he's going to get more chances to play opportunities between 30 and 36 minutes, 6,100, 6,500, D'Angelo Russell looks like a fine option to go to. Anthony Edwards definitely balled out after he got criticized on pretty much all of NBA Twitter for just standing around for multiple possessions. He had his best game of the season, one of his better games in his career, went 12 of 20 from the field. That's not sustainable, but $7,400 price tag. You got to have interest of him across the board, $31 on Yahoo. And it certainly could be the Anthony Edwards show. I like his ownership just in general to take some chances on. He has the upside at this price range to do some damage. And Gobert is kind of an interesting spot. I mean, his price has fallen quite a bit, $6,600 on DraftKings. You definitely want to take some chances on Gobert at that price tag. I think 15 and 15, like 15 points, 15 rebounds, certainly on the table for him, and that'll certainly get there. Some blocks could happen on the Embiid side of matchup. He hasn't necessarily struggled against Embiid. He's been, I think, in the 7 matchups. I was just taking a look now. He's averaged 15 and 12 against Embiid. But that was a different tenure against Utah. Things are different now in Minnesota. But it's a price tag play on DraftKings, 6,600. It seems a little too, maybe it seems like $500 too cheap for a guy like Rudy Gobert. Everyone else is tough to go to because there's just better value with injury situation across the board and other spots. Can Slow-Mo get the job done at a $3,900 DraftKings price tag? Definitely can. And Jalen Noel had a hot start to the season. He's slowed down considerably, but he's one of those guys on a 4-game slate. He doesn't need much to pay off that price tag, but he's kind of your Nemhard and TJ McConnell pivots if Matt Halliburton's out and there's a guy in Shake Milton on the other side who's cheaper than him. So these are just long shot tournament flyers, in my opinion. No real significant interest in doing so. I think for me, how I'd rank the kind of their big four here is Cat, D'Lo, Anthony Edwards, and Gobert is kind of what I'm leaning at. The ownership is kind of all over the place across the four sites. So, but Gobert looks pretty cheap on even on Yahoo, as well as $27 Gobert, where you can roster two centers, makes a lot of sense as well.
All right. Anybody know where Jalen Noel played college? University of Washington, my alma mater. There we go. He actually grew up in Seattle. So hat tip to him. All right. Now the big news, what everybody wants to know. How are we going to break down the 76ers? Well, answer one, I see no issue with playing 4 on DraftKings. You can probably even go 5 on FanDuel. We're looking at DeAnthony Melton being the most popular option on FanDuel at 70% projected ownership. You've got Joel Embiid at 63, Shake Milton at 60 even. Shake Milton on DraftKings is only $100 above the minimum, and he has point guard and shooting guard eligibility. He is projected to be on over 80% of all rosters. I'm okay going 90 to him. Joel Embiid is at 70, DeAnthony Melton at 54, House is at 43. Everybody else is in single digits, high single digits, but single digits. What say you with how the minutes are going to play out on the back-to-back?
Oh, we got some Spurs news breaking out as we speak, but that's good timing for us. Looking at the Philadelphia side of things, I mean, Joel Embiid looks fantastic across the board. You got to pay up for nice things, and Embiid on this slate looks extremely luxurious. I think 11-2, 11-5, kind of a Lux play of the day. I mean, $50 on Yahoo. Got to feel pretty confident about Embiid just laying it down and just taking care of business. Now, to get Embiid, it's going to be Shake Milton. I mean, the Shake Milton Embiid pairing, I mean, every Embiid lineup feels like we'll have Shake Milton. Just the way things stand, $10, $3,100, $3,600 on FanDuel. It just makes everything fit. But I'm going to take some chances on other Sixers, that being a Daniel House, Niang, where you get the 3-point bonus on DK. I mean, I still can't go to PJ Tucker. It's just like he's going to play a lot of minutes, but he's just not going to get there offensively. Where I would rather take my chances with House, Melton even. Melton comes in at 5,900 and 56 in DraftKings and FanDuel, and Melton's only 18. You could roster up to, I mean, if you make a lineup with 4 Sixers, I wouldn't argue. I think it's certainly in play. I have no issues doing that, but 3 seems like a nice number. I mean, look, these ownership projections are through the roof. 82% for Shake Milton. I mean, $3,100. He doesn't really need to do much. He helps you get an Embiid who looks great. I mean, take advantage of the situation. Embiid might get up to 12.5. He might get that Luka Doncic price tag at least over the next month, as Embiid makes that. Always, he has this 8-week run in the regular season over the last couple of years where he just plays like an MVP. And it started last week, I feel like, and he's been cut short the last couple of years. And this is his chance to hold the Sixers down with no Harden, no Maxey. We might see some monster games from Embiid down the stretch, barring any injury or any conditioning issues. Sixers teams look awesome. My preference probably is Milton, Embiid, Melton, then House, then Niang in terms of preference here. So just because Milton's only 3,100 and can Embiid fail at this price tag? He certainly can, but it seems like a really tough chance. Tough to see him not paying off this situation here with all these guys missing.
Shedding a tear because you didn't mention Matisse Thybulle, University of Washington. Nor should we on this slate.
I mean, Thybulle's a long shot tournament play, especially on FanDuel. Can he get you 4 or 5 stocks and steals and blocks combined?
He's better in the single game formats. He's definitely in play there. On the 4-game slate, we're popping up with what's going to be some much better point per dollar value. We don't have to go searching for that 4-stock game. But when we get to the playoffs, we get the single game formats. You betcha. And I play all the single games here on DraftKings. Got to get my crowns, Ryan. Got to get my crowns.
Yeah, better get those crowns. I mean, 50% off there. what's that, Black Friday through Cyber Monday in their shop.
Oh, I haven't looked at that yet. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I do is whenever I visit my mom, I like log in and she just buys whatever she wants.
Picks what she wants. Yeah,
Yeah.
I should definitely do that for my wife. Let her choose a few things. All righty. I think that's going to wrap up this game. We good on that?
Yeah. Keep an eye on the starting lineup here. I would be shocked if Milton doesn't start. He started the second half. Maybe they want to go a little big, and they can certainly trust Milton handling the ball a bit, but there is just because of the other side of things, it's such a massive lineup they're going to go against. Do they go a little ultra big here? Even if Milton does not start, I still like him because he's only $3,100. So just keep an eye, just because on the other side, it's a ultra big lineup just on the other side. So.
All right, 1,400 people watching, 200 likes. Let's get that up. We can do 300 easy. 300 easy. Because if we don't get to 300, I'm going to have to do a few reads in a row. I'm just going to start off with one real slow. Anybody that has not yet signed up for Stokastic can get 3 days of NBA free. All you have to do is just go into the link below us here in the description of the YouTube channel, and you can sign up, get 3 days of full access to everything NBA. That includes the player projections, ownership projections, the 1v1 tool, the lineup generator, which is a lot of fun, top stacks tool, boom bust, all the good stuff. Check that out for 3 days for free. Oh, nice. We're up to 240, but that's not 300. I guess I've got time to do one more read. It's the World Cup, Ryan. It's every 4 years we have the World Cup. You guys can get in for the DFS action for the entire tournament for just $24.95. That is 60% off the weekly price. So you're going to want to do that. Get access for the whole month of the tournament. That's going to include projections for every game for DraftKings and FanDuel, ownership projections for the main slate contest, showdown projections for any of the larger single game contests. And then, of course, once we get out of the group stages, there will be a lot more single game contests. So you'll want to check that out. You get the premium player usage data along with the Discord. We have a lot of good soccer contributors here and soccer bettors, including Ben Rossa, who will bet on windows rolling or raindrops rolling down a window and somehow succeed. He knows all sorts of the good stuff, but this is where you can get the different strategies, the different things the national teams do, etc. Giovanni's in there. He does most of our soccer content. He's very knowledgeable, very helpful, and we have several other ardent fans that have a lot of fun in there. So check that out. Promo code World Cup 2022 gets you access to that. If you're already a platinum member, well, you've already got access to that right now. That's why you should be a platinum member. Remember how to get 2 free months when you sign up for BetMGM.
Who's your pick to win the World Cup?
I don't know. Who is the Netherlands in it? I'll root for them.
The Netherlands are in it. Wow, you're not even going to root for the country we reside in?
Well, we suck.
Yeah, I mean, here are the teams that have better odds.
Netherlands wears orange. I like their kits. So there we go.
I would love to see, just for like in terms of just grabbing the popcorn, seeing like Argentina and Portugal in the final, but that seems unlikely. Brazil apparently has like another golden generation on the table for them, but there are so many teams that have better odds. A country in Senegal has better odds than the USA to win the World Cup. So go figure. I mean, the World Cup's always fun to watch, and take advantage of that package. I'm sure it'll come in handy.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of fun. And come on, the USA, they're fine. Of course, I'll root for them, but we have realistic. The national team's a disaster. They can't decide on a scheme, a format. They're always screwing around and second guessing their coaches. Their coaches are leaving the best talent, the younger talented guys, off the rosters. They're not getting in on those national games. Yeah, I can talk about this for a little while because I do follow along with the sordid details of the briberies, the what do we call that? The trickle down effect, the kickbacks of whatever FIFA or the World Cup is up to. So Anyway, let's get back to basketball. That's why you are all here. We've got 2 more games to talk about. Next one here is Utah at Portland. So I believe that was what Avi gave us the super chat here for. He would like to know who has the better offensive matchup between Jeremy Grant and Lauri Markkanen. So while you ponder that, let me tee this up to say Utah is on a back-to-back. They beat Phoenix in Salt Lake. Pardon me. Utah is on a back-to-back. They're in Portland tonight. Last night they were home. They beat Phoenix in Salt Lake, 134-133. Of course, there was no Chris Paul, but that's still a pretty impressive win. Lauri Markkanen had 35 minutes. Clarkson and Beasley had 31 apiece. Conley played 30. Conley has played in 3 of the 4 back-to-back opportunities that he's had. We expect him to play tonight. Portland, this is an island game for them. They will be without Keon Johnson, and Nasir Little is questionable. They should have everybody else back. It looks like Yusuf Nurkic's minutes are trickling up. And back to Avi's super chat here. Jeremy Grant and Markkanen, who has the better offensive matchup? Not that they're guarding each other, but just which he's looking for a forward from this game.
Interesting. From this game, I think Jeremy Grant has the better offensive matchup, but he does not get enough usage to project better than Markkanen. And in a straight up situation, I do think Markkanen probably outscores Jeremy Grant 72% of the time, something like that. But Jeremy Grant definitely has it in his back to outscore Markkanen. It's not like that crazy to take Grant over Markkanen, but I do think I got to think the interior defense of Utah is where you can attack them compared to their backcourt defense. So I hope that answers your question. That's a good question. It made me think a little bit.
It's an interesting puzzle. Can Markkanen keep this up? We know the finisher is going to launch a lot of shots. You've got Jeremy Grant. He's had a nomadic existence himself, coming from his dad and uncle both playing in the NBA. Kind of contributes across the box score, is a reasonably good scorer, but that's not his role on this team. And he's a little bit redundant there with Justice Winslow and partially Anthony Simons, etc. So it is an interesting question here. I'd still lean with Markkanen, but it's an interesting thought exercise there. All right, take us through the Jazz here. We're going to assume Conley plays. If he doesn't, then Colin Sexton becomes intriguing. Probably he'll get up to upper 20s for minutes would be my guess. But I'm going to expect Conley plays. Take us through the surprising Utah Jazz.
Yeah, this team has been very surprising. They're kind of coming back down to earth, and they beat Phoenix. Phoenix was obviously without Chris Paul. But, all right, we got to look up top with Lauri Markkanen. This guy's been balling out. I mean, he's about to be potentially a West Coast All-Star. If you want to make a case
the clock's going to strike midnight before this happens. This isn't baseball where every team gets a representative. That said,
well,
it looks like he's going to make it.
Utah's hosting the
I didn't even think about that. You're right.
But they necessarily don't get one automatically, even if they do host.
But there's a wink and a nod if it gets down to the coaching voice or the fan votes. So.
Yeah, and he's been amazing. I mean, like, he looks like, I mean, the trade looks pretty even the way things stand right now with Donovan Mitchell being traded for Lauri Markkanen, just how impressive Markkanen's been. With that being said, he's going to come out and optimize. He's going to come out and people just going to him based off some box scores. Last couple of games, he's turned it around. There's like a 4 or 5 game stretch where he came down to earth. I want to stay away. I think I'm going to have to he's not getting that much ownership. 7,800 on DraftKings, 76 on FanDuel, 31 on Yahoo. It's not going to, you don't need to get much to get above the field. I just got to make a stand in some case here and take the upside of potentially guys in the similar price range of, we're going to have no Devin Vassell. That's Spurs news. Maybe Calvin Johnson can get some more usage. Maybe take some chances on the rest of Utah instead of Markkanen, potentially taking a chance on Jordan Clarkson or Mike Conley if he goes. Kelly Olynyk as well can certainly have the upside within him as well. Olynyk comes in at only $4,900 and $5,500 on DraftKings and FanDuel respectively. Center only on DK, so tough to go to him when Embiid's on the slate. While Kelly O comes in $5,500 on FanDuel, power forward center. This Utah team, doesn't interest me that much. It's a great Vegas total. And it's been really tough to pinpoint this team throughout the season because I've been hesitant to believe their success. But now we're almost nearing, I believe they've played 19, they must have played 18 games by now. So it's almost a quarter of the season. So they might be more real than I expect. But the Conley situation is going to definitely open things up. If Conley's out, I really like Clarkson. Sexton will certainly get more minutes, but I definitely don't think it's a priority to go to Paul and Sexton. I like him if he starts just because I think Milton and McConnell and perhaps Nemhard, they're all the value that's locked up at that spot where there is some merit where they'll get him at definitely a lower price tag at $4,600 and $5,000, but doesn't seem necessary. The guy's name who I didn't mention is probably Jared Vanderbilt. I like him on FanDuel where you can get him at $5,200 compared to $5,200 on DraftKings. Power forward only. Well, he won't have that much ownership, but I like his minutes, and I do think there's ways that he can find a way to get there without even having a solid scoring game offensively. He can get you rebounds, not the worst guy to get blocks. So I think Jared Vanderbilt has an upside at that $5,200 FanDuel price tag. But keep an eye on the Conley situation. When Conley plays, I think he's fine to take your chances on. He never interests me because I don't think the 40-point Conley games are there. If you're looking for a solid floor of, let's say, high 20s and mid 30s, I feel like that's a comfortable range for Conley in this situation. But keep an eye on that questionable situation.
All right. Time for a pop quiz for you, Rayen. How many games this season? He's played in 15, started all 15. How many games this season does Vanderbilt have more than 10 field goal attempts?
10 field goal attempts?
Yes.
Not many. I don't think he's had that many. He's not an offensive guy. He's not going to be the offensive guy on this team.
It is 0. How many games does he have more than 7 field goal attempts?
I want to say it's probably 3 or 4.
2. He had 10 in both of those games. Okay. That's my arbitrary cutoff number there. Trick question, of course.
He's had multiple games with double-digit rebounds, right?
Yes, he has had 5 different games with 10 or more rebounds, 3 more with 8 or more, and he's had 4 more with 7. So the rebounds are definitely there. The steals and blocks, he doesn't get nearly as many blocks as you would think. I think he only has like 8 on the season, but he does have 3 multi-steal games, including 2 with 4. So if he's flirting with his double-double and he gets the 4 stock game, you're in business.
Yeah,
if it's one of the nights where he takes 7 field goal attempts and makes 3 of them and only gets 7 rebounds, sorry, there are no points for second place.
Yeah, it's only a FanDuel play. That's FanDuel only, 5,200. Yeah, and don't get me wrong. If you have one lineup and you want to play market, he's certainly fine to do so. For the merit of looking elsewhere, I think I'm just looking elsewhere. I don't buy into this marketing pump. I've been more wrong than right with him all season long. So it's a back end of a back-to-back. I'm just trying to find reasons not to play him. So, and it might burn me, and I'm okay with that. I just think with the way the roster construction works out, I want to look elsewhere. I want to take advantage of the backcourt situation if Conley's out, though.
Yeah, it makes sense. And on DK, we kind of look for anybody that's getting, 5 points per 1,000. And right now that's for this team, it's really only Olynyk, Vanderbilt, and Conley over there on DraftKings. If we use the same metric, that doesn't have to quite be there on FanDuel. We're just looking at Vanderbilt and Conley. So these guys are reasonably priced. It is a good matchup for them. We're going to talk about the Trailblazers next. None of them look great from a point per dollar perspective, but this is also a good matchup for them. You think Nurkic continues to head towards 27, 28, 29 minutes? Is this a matchup where he's going to get yanked again if it's close down the end? Get a little Justice Winslow playing the nominal 5? What do you got here from the Blazers? And is it Dame time? It's always Dame time.
Yeah, I've been lucky enough to be on the Dame salary rise, and I think Dame Lillard is appropriately priced now. Now, the Nurkic situation, I know you mentioned that. The reason why I think that happened was I got to look at the closing lineup for Brooklyn. They went small and they were like, all right, this game is close. Nurkic was having a tough time staying in front of the Nets team, and it worked out that Winslow closed. I have to go back and take a look at the closing lineups for respective teams. And with this Utah lineup, I think Nurkic can play 30-plus minutes. If you want to take some chances with him, he's kind of like the Gobert pivot, 6,700, 6,600, DraftKings FanDuel respectively. FanDuel price tag looks solid. Really like that Yahoo price tag at 24. There's enough value to jam in both Nurkic and Embiid tonight. But the guy who sticks out the most on Yahoo is a $37 Dame Lillard. He looks great, in my opinion. Other guys who get the 3-point bonus, Anthony Simons, he's going to shoot a bunch of those. He's 7K. He's going to be a little low owned, and I like to being above the field on a guy like Anthony Simons. He looks pretty awesome at that price tag, and no issues going to him even on FanDuel. I just like his shot volume when he gets it. It looks nice. A guy who's been frustrating to go to, you're just hoping for monster rebounding games from Josh Hart to get you there. 6,500, 5,900. I like to stay away. He sometimes might be the last guy in the lineup. We touched on Jeremy Grant with that very peculiar question, I want to say. This is Jeremy Grant's ceiling price tag. And 7,700, 7,800, a very low-owned option potentially. I think our projected ownership might be a little high the way things stand. I think people might get a sticker shock looking at that price tag. I kind of want to stay away from Jeremy Grant at this price tag. It's a fine to go to in tournaments if you get to him. I expect the minutes to be nice and high for him, so that's a great thing going for him. The one thing Chauncey Billups does is play sometimes a more condensed rotation, so keep an eye looking at that. Wrapping up the rest of this team, a guy who I was very excited to see this season, just coming where they drafted him, was Shaedon Sharpe. I think if Shaedon Sharpe plays the season at Kentucky, he gets drafted in the top, arguably 3 or 4. This guy was the number 1 high school recruit, I believe, and he just chose to sit out at Kentucky. He doesn't get enough minutes yet to fill out the box score. He's going to be a pivot if off of those guys in like McConnell, Milton, or Nembhard, but he looks like a strong night slate play if you're looking for some value. Shaedon Sharpe has a lot of offensive skill set within him where he's going to be really good over time if he's going to be able to learn how to play NBA defense. But I just wanted to give him some recognition just because there might be a chance where he might get a little bit more minutes off the second unit. He's super, super athletic. This guy is insanely athletic, but unfortunately, there's much better confident value than going to him. It's a little too thin to play him on the main slate. Definitely worth taking some flyers on the night slate, I think.
All right. I did pull up the game flow box score there to see what was up with Nurkic. It looks like he was mirroring Claxton's minutes throughout most of the game. When he was out and Claxton was out in the back half, it was Joe Harris that came in, but on the court, they had Royce O'Neal, Kevin Durant, Yuta Watanabe, and Ben Simmons. Any of them could have been considered the nominal 5. So makes sense that he was going up. It was not Joe Harris playing center in that particular lineup, but it's kind of interesting. It looks like he played about 3 minutes where Claxton was not on the court, and if he went out first in the rotations, Claxton went out at the next ball stoppage.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I was just catching up on the chat. I thought some of them went ahead and took a look at that. Yeah, I definitely think Nurkic can play some minutes and has obviously on a 4-game slate. He doesn't need to do that much to overtake that median projection of his. So definitely take some chances with Nurk at that price tag. The minutes, like right now, we have him projected at 28 minutes. There's a chance where he could play 31, 32, and all of a sudden that projection looks a lot better. So
yeah, and we're really that's a 10% swing. And while it doesn't feel like it's a lot with how the basketball scoring works in DFS, I mean, you guys have seen it all. At the end of every game, every 3-pointer is bouncing you up or down 100 spots in the standings. So even a 10% increase could be helpful. So that's just why we're trying to leave no stone unturned. Final game of the night, you get the San Antonio Spurs. They play again tomorrow against the Lakers. So they've got the LA back-to-back. Langford is in the health and safety protocol. I guess the big news we were waiting for them is that Keldon Johnson is playing. Oh wait, that isn't the big news. Yeah, Devin Vassell is out. So that is going to be interesting. Doug McDermott is available to play, and I don't see any update on Jakob Poeltl. I know he was a little bit dinged up with a sore knee in that one. For the Clippers, this is an island game. The only person they're missing is Luke Kennard. We did see Kawhi Leonard start in the last game. However, I want to say he played like 24 minutes. I don't expect him to play much more than that. But so regardless of whether if he's not starting, after starting, you get real nervous about him. The price on FanDuel, I think he was 6,600 over there. He's a little bit in play, but you're going to need one hell of an efficient game even at that price point. Take us through the last game of the night. The world is your oyster. We got 5 minutes before we hand this over.
Yeah, if Jakob Poeltl's out, Charles Bassey looks outstanding. $4,300, $4,700. DraftKings, FanDuel. Tough to build lineups with Bassey right now on FanDuel with Embiid on the slate there. There's enough value to get in Embiid. Bassey only $12 on Yahoo. Looks outstanding. No Devin Vassell makes Keldon Johnson more viable. Keldon Johnson also coming off of injury if he does play. So this is a very tricky situation with Popovich. And I have reservations on what the rotation might look like if Poeltl is out as well. Keldon Johnson coming back against this Clippers team. He looks fine to go to, like Markkanen pivot or Jeremy Grant pivot, and Anthony Edwards pivot. So Keldon Johnson should have the lead usage on this team. Jeremy Sohan, their lottery pick, has been playing more minutes, and I think he'll play even more. He might get a little bit more usage if Poeltl is out. So, and we already have Devin Vassell out. So Jeremy Sohan, you can definitely take some chances on him as well.
You think they go to Katowice shop again?
Katowice shop got the start for Keldon last time. I think Katowice Jop will play. I don't know if he gets that many minutes at the 5 because they have Isaiah Roby as well, who can certainly play some 5. I hope Popovich doesn't screw with us and start Roby over Bassey because I really want to play Bassey today if Poeltl is out. Bassey should project for pretty outstanding fantasy production today. So I like Keldon Johnson. I like Trey Jones. I think the usage should be there. I prefer Keldon to Trey if you're building one. There's a chance McDermott might start. Malachi Branham is available, so it's not that intriguing of a spot. They do have enough bodies to roll people out. It might be, if Poeltl is out, Bassey's my favorite play on the Spurs, then Keldon. And then actually I might like, now that I think about it more, I might like Sohan more than Trey just because the opportunity cost on the slate is that guard value where McConnell, Milton, and Melton all exist, and potentially Nembhard also exists. So there's a lot of, it's tough to get to Trey Jones when Milton just projects for a few points less than him. And in terms of price, yeah, Sohan might be low owned and he might get a bit more minutes and usage. So I want to bet on that if there's no Poeltl and Vassell. Now, if Poeltl plays, I'll have some interest, but like I said, Embiid's on the slate. It's tough to go to him at that price tag. So but this being the last game on the slate, it's tough to build lineups with Bassey in and thinking Poeltl's out just because there's not much to pivot off of him. You can definitely put Bassey in your utility spot on DraftKings and swap off FanDuel. You're kind of burning yourself a hole if Poeltl does start. So it could just because you don't have money guys to pivot to. I mean, hopefully we get news before that, but you can definitely take some chances. Like with the injury that we already got, what's his name in? We got Devin Vassell out. It would have been nice to just get the Poeltl news now. Maybe Poeltl plays and we go from there. But they are, like you said, front end on a back-to-back, right?
Yes, the LA back-to-back.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm looking to see here. So if we look at the last 2 games of the night to see if you have to drop down from Bassey, yeah, you absolutely want to put him in your utility spot. There is no pivot at center unless you do a 2v2, but you could still work in Beasley from the same game. Katowice Shop is there, and then it just really falls off the cliff. You really don't want Terrence Watford. You don't want Kessler. You don't want Terrence Mann. Yeah, it falls off rapidly there. So careful about painting yourself in a corner.
Yeah, and that's really a bit about the Spurs. I mean, the Poeltl's news is critical there, but you can definitely play Keldon. You can play Trey. You can play Sohan as is. They look better if Poeltl is out for sure. So keep an eye on that Poeltl news. Poeltl's barely getting into ownership right now.
Can you consider anybody from the Clippers now that they're fully healthy?
Sure, certainly can on a 4-game slate. It's going to sound crazy, but Kawhi Leonard played 25 games in that first game back. He commented saying he's slow. And Kawhi Leonard is taking on the Spurs, and Uncle Dennis definitely had some reasons why that Spurs situation ended so bad. But look, I mean, Kawhi Leonard, 7,900 seems a little too expensive. If you want to take him at 6,600 on FanDuel, I think you can take some chances at Kawhi. Paul George, 96, 9,800 is expensive. On a 4-game slate, you would love 50, but 45 might get the job done on a 4-game slate with how all the value is constructed. In terms of overall points play, he looks fine to go to. Zubac's not going to get that much ownership, but everyone else, it looks gross. I can't really go to any of one of these guys until the pricing corrects for all of these guys. They might be $500, $600, $700 too expensive the way things stand right now, because so much of the season was played without Kawhi Leonard getting full minutes. And granted, Kawhi only played 25, but Paul George might be $800 too expensive on both sides right now. Like both Kawhi and Paul George, if the season were to play out, should be priced around 9K or maybe a little bit above. But the rest of the team are more like no one should be priced north of 6K for this Clippers team with all of these guys healthy. Even Reggie Jackson and John Wall probably are priced, like I said, $700, $800 too expensive. Kind of night slate only plays for me right now, but can one of PG and Kawhi Leonard get the job done against this shorthanded Spurs team in 30 minutes? Certainly can. Tournament only plays. Marcus Morris is a little too expensive right now. Had a nice run there. I'm willing to look elsewhere.
All right. With that, we're going to slide on out of here because we are up against the top of the hour. You're going to get another 90 minutes here on Live Before Lock. You're going to get third leg Greg with Matt LaMarca. They're going an extra bonus 30 minutes brought to you by BetMGM. With that, you can follow Rayen over on Twitter at Rimpack. I am at EMac DFS. Up next, the NBA Live Before Lock. Good luck, gamers.
Uh-oh. Now, the last time we had a Hassa alert, it was me who wound up. But so far, so good. We still have a winning record. Whatever the radar goes off, and there's a Hassa in the air. And guess what? We got one this weekend, and we're going to take full advantage of it. We're going to exploit it. Especially because of all of this love, dare I say public love for this individual. But we have located a ball that won't fly straight, and we're going to take full advantage of it on the NFL Parlay of the Week. Yeah, I said that with a straight face. Hit the thumbs up button, please. If you haven't, subscribe, and it does us wonders, I promise. We're going to tell you all about DraftKings, the 5 for $200. That hasn't gone away by any means. We'll make you some money, easy money. But we got a Hassa to exploit. Now, let's head on over to DK. Right away, I mean, this is not even our parlay. This is the first leg, all right? Now, we build a teaser before we get out of here. Normally, we supersize shit and all. We're just going to build a teaser before we get out. But, you know, I want you to look at what we have created as the first leg of our baseline 3-leg parlay. Patriots win the game. Zach Wilson throws a pick. Mac Jones throws a touchdown. This is as simple as it gets. This is a very easy, basic game script for you out there, okay? And what's going on is the Patriots, like, they're laying 3. It's moved to 3.5. This opened at 3. It opened at the same number it was 3 weeks ago when the Jets lost at home with that same spread. They were getting 3 at home to the Patriots, and they lose. Patriots won a couple of games, give up 20 total points, and they're only laying 3 to open this thing up at home. There is a general belief. Why? Because that's a trap. You want to talk about what a trap is. Trap is the wrong word. It's bait. Let's sprinkle a little bait and see what happens. Oh, my God, the Jets. They've turned a page. Robert Saleh. You see that guy in the sidelines? That guy's business. Zach Wilson, isn't that good? And he's not hurt anymore. We pushed that theory on the Odd Shop Fridays, 1 o'clock Eastern, right here on the Odd Shopper channel. Set your alarm notification and all. Lofty, Rasa, and me. We talked to no, this is not that good. And he hasn't been that good. He's 0-3 straight up against the spread versus New England. And in those 3 games, he's barely completed 50% of his passes with a TD to pick ratio of 2-7. Hey, all the changes on offense, you know what hasn't changed? Bill Belichick on defense. All right, there's the Wilson interception that will clearly correlate with the Patriots winning the football game. And again, outright, money line, not covering any 3.5. Here's the thing. Mac Jones in those 3 games, a TD to interception ratio of 4-1. So we like Mac throwing a TD. We like Zach throwing an interception. It sounded better if I didn't screw it up, but who the hell knows? I screw a lot of shit up. It doesn't make any sense. Favored by 3 on the road and 1, favored by the same 3 when this thing opened up. New York. This is what I love. New York is 4-0 straight up against the spread on the road this year, Shanner. Did you know that? It's been over 10 years since they've won on the road in what? New England, yeah. Zach Wilson's going to screw this thing up way more than anything else. Yep. Ridiculous. Just getting a slack here from Ben Rosen about some more college action. That's our first leg here. All right. Let's keep it moving. I'm going to look at this game. You cannot play this. I cannot play this at 7, but I can play this at 3. And maybe even 3.5, depending on this. I just want you to see something. This is at -7 and -295. So we're trying to create something that offers us a good price in the middle of that number, if you will. We're not creating a middle. We're just trying to find a good price. 295. You know, beating.
What is going on, everybody? It's time for another Stokastic NBA Live Before Lock Show. I like how chat, they try to guess who it is that's going to be on the show. If you're not guessing me, you're playing against the odds. I'm on the show almost every single day. So the safe bet, if you guys are unsure, just go with myself. As you come in, like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We are sponsored today by BetMGM. The big reveal. It's Saturday. I'm joined with Matt LaMarca. What's up, Matt?
Hello. I'm excited. I'm feeling good. I love a 4-game slate. Really big piece of news coming down the pipe soon with Tyrese Halliburton. That's going to be the first game on the slate, so we should have time to pivot. But I'm shocked that it sounds like he's going to play.
So yeah, I'm still unsure as well. We'll talk about some of the injuries and, you know, the key ones we have right now. Halliburton's probably going to be the most impactful. He's warming up, apparently looks better than expected. You know, last night, and if anybody saw what looked like a terrible ankle injury at the time, it was Usman Garuba kind of landed on his foot. He turned it so bad, it was like the bottom of his foot was touching his calf. And then after the game, and he was crying on the court as well. And then after the game, he tweets, "Hey, I'm going to be fine, guys." But players always are overly optimistic about their health status. You remember Kyle Lowry last year was like, "I'm fine. I'm going to be playing right away." And then he missed like 6 weeks after that. So players generally are overshooting how often they're going to be back. I was really skeptical, but yeah, Rick Carlisle just said he looks better than expecting. He's warming up to see if he's able to play. So that is something that's going to matter. We'll talk about some of the implications of that. Wendell Carter Jr. is questionable. Jakob Poeltl is questionable. And then we also recently got Devin Vassell ruled out. So those are going to be the most key pieces of news that we're looking for in the next 52 minutes. But then afterwards, for the final 30 minutes, Matt and I are going to be sticking around after lock. We'll be reacting to what happens and any kind of lineup news, any kind of late scratches, any of that. We will be hitting on that as well. But let's talk about Tyrese Halliburton. So it seems you feel pretty good that he's going to end up playing.
I mean, I didn't, earlier today when I was writing this slate up, I was pretty much proceeding like it was a foregone conclusion that he was going to sit. But the fact that they haven't ruled him out yet, that he's warming up, that he looks better than expected, yeah, I'm now leaning towards he's going to be in the lineup.
I would say, yeah, I'd probably say like 75-25. You know, there is a thing where if he doesn't feel 100%, because you and I were talking before the show started about teams, hey, are they going to be tanking? Are they not going to be tanking? The pace seemed to be good enough to where it's not a team that is going to tank. But at the same time, too, they're not quite good enough to where if Halliburton isn't 100%, I wouldn't think he plays. By the way, Matt, people are loving your hair. We've got all kinds of different comments about how
I love this one from Sensei. Matt looks like a well-groomed, sophisticated Zach Galifianakis.
Well, Zach Galifianakis, depending what movie you catch him in, he's pretty sophisticated looking.
I mean, I feel like that's one of the best compliments I've ever gotten related to my appearance. I'll take that any day of the week.
Sophisticated, by the way, sophisticated while he's wearing a hoodie. Yes.
Well, you know, this is you know, I'm channeling you know what, never mind, I'm not going there. But it's a good, I love hoodies. Let's just leave it at that.
I'm with you. I can't you don't sweat while you're doing shows though? Like if I'm wearing
all the time. But You know what? I do it to make myself feel better. You know, I'm more comfortable in a sweatshirt, so I'll take a little heat.
Yeah, for me, I just don't like to be that hot while I'm doing the show. I like it to be a little more temperate in terms of the temperature. By the way, also, if anybody has questions throughout the show, throw them in super chats at me in the Discord, and I'll be answering all of those as we go along. Only a 4-game slate, so I'm sure we're going to be able to get to everybody's questions today. And we already have one right off the bat, but Teddy Wayman, not DFS related, but how legit do y'all think the Jazz are this season? So
perfect question for you.
For me, I've been betting on the Jazz since before the season. It's anybody who's in the betting Discord that we have now over at Stokastic, which you could get free access to for a week. We've got a link somewhere below that you guys can get free access to. I bet the Jazz to be in the playing game 14-1 before the season started. I bet the over their win total. They're already halfway to their win total mark. I bet that the over before the season started. So it depends what you mean by legit. Are they going to actually be contending for the number 1 seed in the West? No, I do not believe that. Are they going to be in the play-in game or at least competing for a playoff spot? Yeah, I totally believe that. Barring injuries, right? If Mike Conley gets hurt, I think the team is a little bit screwed. If they do decide to trade players, that would be problematic. Lauri Markkanen rules this year, though. Did you see the game that he had last night?
I love him. Oh, there he is. A sophisticated Zach Galifianakis on the screen. Yeah, I'm happy for him. You know, he was always a player with potential, and he's living up to it now. So I'm happy to see him doing well. I'm not quite as bullish on the Jazz as you. I think a play-in berth is definitely doable, but I'm not really expecting them to hold on to a guaranteed playoff spot. We've already seen their defense has really started to regress over the last handful of games. I think that's the type of team they're going to be. They're going to put up points, but they're going to allow plenty of points. So I think, you know, depending on how the rest of the conference shakes out, the West certainly doesn't look like a gauntlet at the moment. You know, a play-in spot should be very attainable.
Yeah, we've got, by the way, Mike saying he tried to get the hair. I didn't notice he was naked in a tub. What you should be apologizing for is that we didn't see more of him in the tub. Like, you're not apologizing because he was in the tub without any clothes on. It's because it got cut off around the chest area. We wanted to see more of Zach Galifianakis. So, I mean, I still think this. I think I would be fairly surprised if they didn't at least make the play-in game at this point, because to me, the floor for them is 11. That's the absolute floor.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think so right now the Warriors are the 11 seed, the Timberwolves are the 10 seed. I don't think the Thunder, the Spurs, the Lakers, or the Rockets are particularly likely to pass the Jazz. Would you agree with that?
I mean, I'm not writing out off the Lakers yet. I know it's tempting to do it, but they still have 2 of the 15 best players in the league. So, you know, any team with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, I'm not going to say can't finish with a top 10 seed in the conference.
Have you watched this team play at all over the last couple of years?
Sure. They're not great, but you know what? It's just hard for me to say that a team with LeBron and Anthony Davis have no chance of passing a team with Lauri Markkanen as their best player.
Lauri Markkanen has been better than Anthony Davis or LeBron James this year. Not that I expect him to be going forward. To this point, he's been better than them, though.
All right.
Lauri Markkanen, he's like, if you look at the dunked in threes, the EPM stats, like Lauri Markkanen is like the fifth most valuable player in the NBA right now. He's not going to keep it up. But if you're just talking about his like how he's played to this point, I mean, he beat the Suns basically single-handedly last night, shot 15 of 18 from the field. Like, he's been insane.
Yeah, no, I was thinking more his defensive contributions are pretty non-existent, but you can't argue with the stats the guy is putting up right now.
Yeah, and by the way, long-term, because El Cuatro Loco put it in, yeah, Lauri Markkanen better than LeBron James, Greg. To this point, he has been. So anyway, to answer the super chat that we got from Teddy Wayman, I think they're going to be competitive this year. It's a team that, barring injuries, I don't think they're going to tank or anything like that. But let's talk about some of the injuries for tonight's slate. And
yeah,
you said you think Tyrese Halliburton is going to play. I tend to also think he's more likely to play than not. But it's not official, and I think we should be prepared for the scenario where he does not end up playing. And if we do, because that game it locks in 45 minutes, first game of the slate. If he doesn't play, what's the fallout of that?
If he doesn't play, I think TJ McConnell moves into the starting lineup. That's a pretty easy swap for the Pacers to make. And McConnell is a guy who has provided fantasy value in the past when you give him an opportunity. So for sure, he becomes valuable at 3,800. I also think Benedict Mathurin sees a nice spike in usage. His usage rate with Halliburton off the floor this season is north of 35%. So I would give him a bump. He would become a very appealing play to me. Andrew Nembhard, you know, he's been starting, but the minutes haven't been super consistent for him. He's been at like 22 or fewer in 3 straight games. So I think he would get some extra run. And then, you know, maybe a slight bump in usage for guys like Buddy Hield and Miles Turner. But I think the big winners for me would be TJ McConnell and Benedict Mathurin.
Yeah, McConnell to me is probably the easiest one. I mean, McConnell we've seen, how many times have we seen McConnell move in the starting lineup over the last, 10 years or whatever for Mike's 76ers when he was back with there. He's been a smash basically whenever he's moved in the starting lineup. He's somebody who he doesn't score a ton, but assists are there, rebounds are there, steals are there. And he's always at a cheap price point. So he would be one of the better value plays on the slate if he ends up moving into the starting lineup. And then I think we'd have to anticipate Miles Turner and Buddy Hield seeing more usage as well. So they would see a little bit of an uptick. And then, of course, an easy matchup against the Orlando Magic. So to me, if Halliburton is out, Turner, Hield, also guys I'd be preferring. Mathurin, there'd also be more opportunity for him. But overall, McConnell would be the number one priority. Turner versus Hield, where would you stand on them if Halliburton isn't in?
Well, Miles Turner is just one of my guys at the moment. I think he's just sort of continually underpriced to start the season. So I'm already playing plenty of Miles Turner tonight, particularly on FanDuel, where he has power forward eligibility in addition to center eligibility. He, for me, is just the ceiling is just so much higher than Buddy Hield's, and we're not talking a huge price difference.
Yeah, and then anybody else on the Pacers? Then once again, just trying to make sure we open up opportunities or at least make sure we cover all our bases here. Are there any contrarian plays that you think could sneak in that we should consider in large field tournaments if we get news that Halliburton is out?
Yeah, I don't know how popular Jalen Smith would be. He's 4,800. We've seen him provide nice value even with the team at full strength. Isaiah Jackson is somebody that I'm pretty constantly looking to for value, but I don't know if we need to go there on this slate. There's already some strong value options with the 76ers. And, if Halliburton gets ruled out, we would have plenty more options to choose from on the Pacers. So I don't think this is necessarily an Isaiah Jackson type of night, but he's somebody that I'm never going to argue against if you want to play because he's just so good on a permanent basis.
Yeah, and by the way, as people are just one more thing to talk about, because people are messaging me about Lauri Markkanen now in our Discord chat as well. Per EPM, estimated plus minus, these are the best players in the NBA to this point this season. We have Steph Curry, Luka Doncic, Kevin Durant, Nikola Jokic, SGA, Jason Tatum, Donovan Mitchell, Brooke Lopez is up there. And I mean, Lauri Markkanen is, let's see. So Lauri Markkanen is about 12th in EPM, and then in wins added, he's actually only behind Curry, Luka, Durant, Tatum, SGA, Denmark, and he's been really good this year. He's been great. Yeah,
all
by the way,
hail Larry Markkinen.
Yeah, he's a god. One thing that I will say skews the stats a little bit. For whatever reason, the Jazz have played way more games than everybody else. So the aggregate stats in terms of the value stats, he ends up being a little bit higher just because he played like 3 more games than other players because of weird scheduling quirks. But talk about more of those injuries in a second. But first, let's talk about some of these other questions that we got in the Discord channel. First, from Gator Nation 850, he wants to know who on FanDuel is the fade of the day. So let me refresh ownership. And by the way, this is something that could change a little bit when we get more information with some ownership updates as some news starts to come across. But the most recent run of ownership, which came in 8 minutes ago, I want to see who is currently some of the most popular guys that I think make sense to be underweight to.
I'm going to throw out. I'm going to throw one out while you're looking.
Mm-hmm.
There's legit like a little bit of buzz about Kawhi Leonard at 6,600 on FanDuel. And I do think that that's obviously a much more favorable price than he has on DraftKings. But realistically, what is his ceiling in 25 minutes? You know, is it 35? Is it 40 fantasy points? Like, I just can't play a guy at 6,600 with such a hard minute cap right now. You know, like, I don't know. I see that he actually owns a positive leverage rating in the boom bust tool. So maybe this is just a me problem more than a projections problem, but I just don't see the ceiling at 6,600.
Yeah, it depends. I think he actually could play 27 or 28 minutes today. I understand why. He's somebody who I think relative to the current ownership, I would be underweight to, but I understand getting to him. I'd say the player who I am most skeptical of relative to ownership, Anthony Edwards, is really popular over on FanDuel, project for 34% ownership. And I know he's coming off a really big game. It is so hard to figure out who's going to be the most productive player from the Timberwolves on a day-to-day basis. You know, it could be Edwards one day, it'll be Cat another day, it'll be Gobert. Then we're going to have D'Lo games here and there. Anytime any one player on this team is really, really popular, it's just hard for me to get behind it. So I'm going to say Edwards, just because it's so easy for it to be, it's a Towns night, it's a Russell night, and just the usage should be allocated elsewhere.
Yeah, I'm fine with that call too. I'm definitely underweight to the projected 33% ownership right now.
By the way, we just got a key injury update here, or at least what I presume is a key injury update, because the Orlando Magic Wendell Carter Jr. was listed as questionable. While he has not been ruled out, the starting lineup for the Orlando Magic is Jalen Suggs, Franz Wagner, Chuma Okeke, Bol Bol, and Mo Bamba. So I assume that means that there's going to be no Wendell Carter Jr. today. Wendell Carter Jr., once again, still officially listed as questionable, but not starting. That's an indication to me that he will not be playing. Is that also your read on the situation?
Yeah, I don't think it would make much sense to bring him off the bench, in favor of Mo Bamba. Like, if anything, Mo Bamba is just kind of a worse version of Bol Bol at this point. So I don't know why you'd want to play them together unless you kind of have to.
So let's talk about some of the implications of this, because this was one of the key injury news. Actually, the next one I was going to ask you about is what we were going to be doing with the Orlando Magic if Wendell Carter Jr. doesn't play. So we saw the scenario a couple games ago, and we saw Bol Bol, massively popular on that slate, got into very quick foul trouble, also sucked. So everything that could have gone wrong for Mo Bamba in that game went wrong. He gets into early foul trouble. He immediately starts chucking threes and misses all of them for some reason. And then he gets hurt towards the tail end of the first half. So we ended up with a game where he was able to rally back and at least be serviceable, because he was $4,400 on DraftKings. If I remember correctly, he put up 25 fantasy points at 8 points, 10 rebounds. Honestly, if that's the floor for him, a game where he gets into foul trouble, gets hurt, and doesn't make any of his shots, still finishes with 25 fantasy points, I'm cool with going back to him. I think he's a really good value play.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you can use Mo Bamba too. I wouldn't play them together, but Mo Bamba is averaging 1.15 DraftKings points per minute with Wendell Carter Jr., Paolo Banchero, and Cole Anthony off the floor. Bol Bol is at 1.26. So Bull's definitely the better player. He's the better fantasy player. But I think that Mo Bamba is another, obviously he's going to benefit from, you would think, more minutes in this spot. I'm fine with using him too.
Yeah, and by the way, we also just found out officially now Wendell Carter Jr. has been ruled out for tonight, which is really what we were expecting there. We got a super chat from A1 Andy. He wants to know, can we still play TJ McConnell if Halliburton starts? No, I would not play TJ McConnell in that scenario. We've got so much value that's opened up on this slate. Even though it's a smaller slate, only 4 games, I just don't think it's necessary. So to me, TJ McConnell, that is a no-go. Only need him I would only want to be playing if he starts.
I agree.
All right, so let's figure out some of these Orlando players and where they are actually going to stack up. So who's the priority here? Outside of Mo Bamba, who else stands out the most to you from the Magic now?
Yeah, I really like Jalen Suggs tonight. He's not a guy that's catching a ton of ownership right now. We have him at 24% projected own on FanDuel, and he's at 25% on DraftKings. He's put together back-to-back 40-point games. The numbers with Banchero and Anthony look really solid off the floor. If you add in Wendell Carter, he's at 1.17 DraftKings points per minute. I think that he has, like 40 points is a very reasonable outcome for him in what is easily like one of the best matchups in fantasy, right? The Pacers are a top team in terms of pace. They're a bottom team in terms of defensive efficiency. I feel pretty good about using Jalen Suggs tonight. The multi-positional eligibility helps him too. You can use him at either guard spot. I definitely prefer him to Franz Wagner, but I have some Franz Wagner exposure as well. He should also benefit. He's kind of been he's been the top usage guy with those players off the court this season. Not quite as good on a per minute basis, but yeah, both guys should really benefit. I think Orlando might be a little bit undervalued at the moment by DFS players. Like, it's a great spot. They're super shorthanded, because they don't have Gary Harris tonight either, who played 24 minutes in their last game. And there will be some guys that entered the rotation, like RJ Hampton didn't play in their last game. So, Caleb Houston didn't play in their last game. He should pick up a couple minutes. Like, it's not all going to go, all those Harris minutes are going to go to the starters, but I think that all of these dudes have more upside than their ownership currently implies.
Yeah, it looks like I'm going to be getting to a lot of these players, and we'll see also because there's going to be an ownership update. And when we get that ownership update, I'm certainly going to keep you guys abreast of all the information there in terms of what some of the popularity of these guys look like. I do want to ask you though, how does the value on Orlando for you compare to the value on the Philadelphia 76ers, which is also just absurd?
No, yeah, I mean, it's different value, right? It's the 76ers value is like super cheap punt play type value for the most part. I guess you could compare a guy like DeAnthony Melton to a Jalen Suggs. Like, for me, Suggs wins that conversation.
Yeah, let me rerun my lineups after making some updates. I'm curious to see, do I get to more of Suggs or Melton? By the way, the answer here, it looks like a lot of both of them.
Yeah,
a lot of both. I don't think we really need to differentiate between the two. Mo Bamba, by the way, my most rostered players are, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. My 8 most rostered players are either Sixers or Magic players now. I don't have an issue with it either. Do you think?
No, that seems pretty reasonable. So you're 8 most rostered. So I'm going to guess Embiid, Bol, Melton, Suggs.
Mm-hmm.
Did I say Shake Milton yet?
I couldn't tell whether you said Milton or Melton, but they're both
in there, right? Okay. Danuel House.
Bamba is the other one.
Okay, Bamba.
Yeah, I mean, this is by far to me the best value on the slate.
Yeah,
I don't have any issue with loading up on it. I know that's going to be questions that we're going to be getting more as we go along here, but yeah, load up, particularly in cash games. All the Sixers, all the Magic, easy. My filler arc, Bol and Franz, or Franz and D'Angelo Russell. So it's basically Bol versus D'Lo. I prefer Bol.
Yes, I have Bol. Let's see the projections here. I have Bol at around 32 fantasy points and Russell at around 29. So clearly that's it.
Yeah, and by the way, Brad Clayton, I see in chat saying like that I'm playing chalky lineups. Yeah, sometimes the chalk is justified. Like last night, for instance, people were saying, should I not play the Miami Heat players because they're going to be popular? You can't avoid some of these situations. You have to play you have to get exposure to the Philadelphia 76ers tonight, in my opinion. You have to. Mm-hmm. They're missing so many players. There's no way guys don't go off or put up big games. Same as last night. If you played that slate out 100 times, how many times do you think at least one player from the Heat was going to land in the optimal lineup in that spot?
100.
It might have been 100. I was going to say 99, but it's just the way that the math works. Like unless the team was going to lose 120-20, somebody had to score fantasy points.
But they still would have had 5 guys on the court, and they only had 7 to begin with. Like you can't even factor in the blowout now. I guess if you think that scoring 20 points is a legitimate outcome, but there were going to be dudes out there for 40 plus minutes. And it was a situation you needed to exploit.
Yeah, it's definitely something where I think that some of these situations, like, do you have any issue with any of the, and let's see if there's an ownership update, but do you have issues with any of the players that we presume are going to be chalk from Philadelphia or Orlando? By the way, we just got an ownership update 3 minutes ago. And right now we have, by the way, 84% ownership on Shake Milton on DK, 69% on Joel Embiid, D'Anthony Melton 55%, House 41%, Wagner 39% over on FanDuel, Melton 67, Embiid 60, Milton 57, Wagner now up to 42. Then we've got Halliburton there at 40%, Anthony Edwards 32. In terms of the players that are going to be popular from the Sixers or from the Magic, do you think any of it isn't warranted?
No, it's all warranted. The one I would push back the most against is Danuel House, just because I think he could play 30 minutes and get 15 fantasy points because he did that yesterday. So he's the guy that I will probably sort of be underweight on compared to the field. But, Shake Milton is a $3,100 guard who's going to play 30 minutes tonight. It's just really hard to avoid that.
Yeah, it's somebody who, for cash games, absolutely play Shake Milton, even in tournaments. Play Shake Milton. And let's see, what is my projection on Milton tonight? So Milton, I have projected for over 30 fantasy points at $3,100 on DK. That's a really difficult scenario to get away from. He could totally dud relative to my projection and put up 16 fantasy points, and he still might be in an optimal lineup at that price point. So to me, I'd just say play Shake Milton chalk. He doesn't have to be in 100% of your lineups, but I certainly think he should be in there. By the way, we just got the update. Tyrese Halliburton, he will be playing tonight. So now that Halliburton's in, we could take the TJ McConnell talk off the table. Do you like getting to Halliburton as an option?
Sure. Yes. We have tons of value. We just talked about it, right? Yeah. And we can't play, or like outside of Joel Embiid, who we'll get to at some point, the stud options on this slate aren't ideal, right? Especially on DraftKings, right? You've got Damian Lillard, who's 10,100. That seems too expensive. You've got Paul George at 9,800 with Kawhi Leonard back in the lineup. That seems too expensive. Kawhi Leonard, 7,900, too expensive. So we're looking for guys to sort of use in this stars and scrubs build. And I think Halliburton is a fantastic option to pair with Joel Embiid, especially when you consider the fact that some people might not update to this news. They may have built lineups earlier, assumed Halliburton was out or whatever. His ownership will check in lower than what it should be.
Yeah, and maybe some risk about could they be cautious as minutes, but in general, I think we should feel pretty good about Halliburton. And he was
if they were gonna be cautious with him, I think they would have sat him. So I feel pretty good that he's gonna see his usual role as long as he's in there.
And by the way, I do agree with you also. I do think his ownership comes in a little bit lower than what it's projected as, just because, I mean, the news came out 27 minutes before the slate starts. More often than not, when news comes in that late, it has an impact on ownership where people don't quite adjust to the news. We've got some questions to answer in our Discord channel. If you guys want access to the Discord channel, sign up for a Stokastic Plus Platinum membership. You could get 3 days free by signing up right now if you're a new customer, but also check out our deal with BetMGM, because if you've not opened up a BetMGM account, or if you're in a state where sports betting just became legal, opening up a new BetMGM account while clicking on our link is going to get you 2 free months of a Stokastic Plus Platinum package. But in addition, you're going to get a risk-free bet of up to $1,000. So your first bet over there, if it loses over at BetMGM, refunded up to $1,000 in free bets. And in addition, you're getting 2 free months of a Stokastic Plus Platinum package. So a lot of good value to be had there. And you get access to our Discord channel.
Wow, look at handsome questions. Greg there.
Oh yeah,
all
look at
lined
that.
up.
Thumbs up. We had to do so we did a company meetup over the summer in Chicago, and we had to do this photo shoot. It is deceptively hard to be on camera and just do all these pictures. Yeah, see, there's another one of Ben Rossa there where it's like, all right, pose confused. All right, now be inquisitive, be angry, and you have to take pictures and try to convey these things. And it's like, obviously Eric does it because he's a fucking idiot. Look at him, but still, but still, like, you have to, when you're doing these things on camera, you feel like an idiot, and then it's kind of hard. Like if I just said to you, like, all right, Matt, I want you be mad right now, be mad, right? See, it's harder to do than you would think. And then some of them too, you have to sit there. You have to kind of think a little bit about it. We're bringing more of them back. There's Josh. And we all felt like idiots doing this. Nobody was thrilled about the photo shoot. Let's get some of these questions in the Discord channel now. Starting with Jay Cush 187, PG and Embiid as my pay up spots on FanDuel. I don't have an issue with either of them. Even though Kawhi Leonard is starting, I don't think he's going to be playing, a massive amount of minutes. So Paul George should have his minutes staggered with Kawhi a little bit and enable him to go off. And then to me, Joel Embiid, he's popular for good reason. He's the best pay up option on the slate. Do you have any issue with Paul George or Joel Embiid? By the way, George also is a little bit lower owned than some of the other pay up options.
Yeah, I don't hate Paul George. I mean, I don't like Paul George. I don't have very much of him. I would rather go with Tyrese Halliburton, but does he have a ceiling? Yeah, he has a ceiling still. So I can't fight it too much.
It's going to make a joke about something, but I'm not going to. I'll delete it from chat. Somebody said, I'll let people fill in the blank. Somebody had said that that Lofty looks like Myers Leonard in the picture. That was all. That was all I said.
I think I know where you were going.
Late night hammer. Nurk played 15 in his first game back and 25 in his second. Utah is the worst in the league at rim protection. How sneaky is he on FanDuel as a different way to go in lineup constructions? I don't know how to project the minutes of Nurkic.
I can't play him on FanDuel as a center only. I can't. I'm sorry. I need Joel in that spot.
So that's something that's also true. But the other thing also, like, just because Nurkic played 15 in his first game and then 25, I don't think that all of a sudden means he's playing 30 plus. The reason I think he played 15 in the first game wasn't because he was limited. It's because he was playing poorly. He played 15 minutes. The team got outscored by 21 points. He was minus 21 in the 15 minutes he was on the court. The reason he played less minutes in that game was just because he wasn't playing well. So I look at it from that standpoint, and it's really hard to project Nurkic well this year in a lot of games. And it's kind of been an issue for him in general. He's only averaging 28 minutes per game. So I find other center options I prefer to get to, especially with all the news that we just got that came out. Mo Bamba now being a viable center. So Nurkic is not somebody I'm all that interested in. They're just better options.
Yeah, I think I think it's a little too cute. If he had power forward eligibility, like a lot of the other centers randomly do, then I could probably get behind it more, but I can't waste my only center spot tonight on Yusuf Nurkic.
We have a question here from CSLELTST. If I'm ending up with leftover salary regardless, Clarkson or Conley for a very small field. Let's see, who do I have projected higher? Clarkson or Conley? By the way, another thing about the Jazz, whether tanking or not this year, they didn't play Mike Conley in back-to-backs last year, and they do this year, which I think is hilarious.
Well, they got to build that trade value now, baby.
I have Clarkson projected for more fantasy points. That's my answer.
Yes, me too.
Our guy, Seth1374, always hitting us the important, hard-hitting questions. Driving my wife and her boyfriend to Applebee's for a nice Saturday dinner. I'm the designated driver. There we go.
This guy's hilarious. I love this guy. Keep going.
I'm gonna agree with you. Lofty doesn't like the bid. He thinks it's played out. He's wrong.
I only hear it once a week, so I think it's great.
Yeah, Lofty's done live for like once in the last 2 years. We started talking, want to know who's your favorite Spur to play tonight. All right, so let's see. So Seth and Seth's wife's boyfriend want to know who my favorite Spur is. So one thing about the Spurs, we've gotten a lot of injury updates. One of the ones that we are still missing, though, is Jakob Poeltl, who's listed as questionable. That could change things a little bit. So everybody from the Spurs that we had injury questions about coming, like Keldon Johnson, he's in now. Jakob Poeltl, he was questionable, still questionable. Devin Vassell, he was questionable. Now he's out. Still know about Poeltl, and that could change some stuff. But at least as of now, it is Keldon Johnson for me.
I like Keldon too. We'll see what happens. Who's in the starting lineup? Like, you could make a case that, like, if Isaiah Roby starts, he's priced at 3,100. Maybe he becomes their best value. But Keldon Johnson, nice usage bump this season with Vassell off the floor. I think that he is their best play.
I will say that if Jakob Poeltl, we don't get news on him and that comes out. I was going to say maybe Poeltl for large field tournaments, but it's going to be hard just because he's a center. I really hope he plays because we already have so much center value. I don't feel like I need more centers to get to. But what does happen if Jakob Poeltl is out? Who would we have to be considering?
I know Rinpack went on a little soliloquy about the greatness of Mr. Charles Bassey, but 1.26 DraftKings points per minute for Bassey this season. I just think he is so much more exciting than Jeremy Sochan for DFS purposes. Like, he would be the easy play for me, even if he's not going to see as many minutes. I think he still has the potential to be the better player.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. Kind of regardless of what the starting lineup is, I would prefer to go towards Bassey. Now, once again, my hope here is that we just find out that he's playing. I just don't want to have to deal with another center option to choose from. We've got a lot of good centers. I like the centers we got to choose from. I don't need to add another guy into the mix. I think I'm covered there. Let's see what else we have in terms of questions. It looks like we've covered them all. So let's try to hit on some of our highest priority players at each position, Matt. And once again, somebody brought up before that I'm playing chalky lineups today. Yeah, I am. I think sometimes I think the chalk is good. Sometimes I don't. Today is one of those days I think the chalk is good. The point guards I have the most exposure today right now on DraftKings are Shake Milton and DeAnthony Melton. Do you have lineups built out for both sites or just one?
I have both.
Okay. So we'll go back and forth DraftKings FanDuel. So for DraftKings, the point guards I'm getting the most exposure to are Melton and Milton. What about for you?
I have a little bit more Suggs than I do Melton, but I think that those are pretty clearly your top three guys. I also have, now that we've got it confirmed, I've got some Tyrese Halliburton as well.
Yes. So for me on FanDuel, he's also one of my most rostered point guards alongside with DeAnthony Melton and Shake Milton. Is there anything different for you on FanDuel that stands out differently from DK?
I will throw in that I have more Jordan Clarkson on FanDuel than I do on DraftKings. He's got sort of that dual spot. So I don't know if I'm using him more as a shooting guard or as a point guard. I would imagine as a shooting guard. And I have some Trey Jones as well, but yeah, for the most part, Melton, Milton, Suggs, Halliburton, that's my top group.
Yeah, not too much different there. And by the way, shooting guards, it's kind of more of the same guys for me. I will add in that Franz Wagner, Jalen Suggs. Also, I was kind of trying to separate how I was classifying some guys point guard and shooting guards, but Wagner and Suggs, two guys that I also like quite a bit for today. Right now in the ownership, they're both fairly popular, but relative to the size of the slate, it's not like Jalen Suggs is insanely popular. Oh, no, never mind. The ownership, Everson, that ownership update just came in. He is now 40% owned on DraftKings and 40% owned on FanDuel. So never mind. He was in the high 20s before. Now it's gone up to 40. Does that change any of your thoughts on Jalen Suggs?
I'm not going to be as overweight on him as I thought, but I still think the price tag is too good to pass up in this matchup. Again, like we're still projecting Melton for more ownership than him, right?
Let's see. So did you say, this always gets confusing. Did you say Melton or Milton?
Melton, the guy who's priced the same as him.
So on FanDuel, Melton is 65% owned to 41% for Jalen Suggs. On DK, Melton is 51% to 43% for Suggs. It's pretty close.
It's pretty close. I still like Suggs in that matchup. So I'm fine with being, a little bit overweight on Suggs and a little bit underweight on Melton.
And now let's try to find a contrarian guard for people to get to. So if there's a guard that we were looking at who's a little bit off the board, not saying we have to go to like 5% ownership or anything. Let's say somebody who's sub 15% owned. Who is the guard at that kind of ownership that you think has the most upside to differentiate a lineup?
Sub 15% at guard. Let's see. I've been playing Buddy Hield quite a bit. Him getting Tyrese Halliburton in the lineup tonight does kind of hurt the expectations for him, but he's still a guy that has been providing value even with Halliburton in the lineup. He didn't shoot the ball well in his last game. He was 3 for 13 from 3-point range, but that kind of shows you the kind of upside that he has too, right? He shot 13 3-point attempts in that game. So if you get a night where he catches fire, which he can do, he's got the ceiling to get, into the 40s. So his price has gotten up. It's not as enticing of a ceiling type play as it was when he was a little bit cheaper, but I still think from a leverage perspective, he's probably one of my favorite options at guard.
So for me, I was just putting some lineups into a CSV. Guard sub 15%. On DK, I'm going to say Paul George. We have all this value and not that many guys to pay up for. And at least now in our ownership projections, we got people gravitating towards Joel Embiid. Halliburton's looking like I know before I thought maybe the ownership wouldn't be there, but it seems like it will. Karl Anthony Towns is popular. Paul George just isn't. And I do think he still has pretty significant upside. A real easy matchup against this Spurs team that's pretty watered down at this point. So I think Paul George is a reasonable way to pay up to differentiate. Over on FanDuel, if I'm looking for somebody who's less popular at guard, I'm going to say D'Angelo Russell. There's so many guys on the Timberwolves that are picking up ownership today. Karl Anthony Towns is, Anthony Edwards is, Rudy Gobert is. And like I said, this is a really hard team to nail down where the production is going to come from. D'Lo's about as cheap as we ever see him. $6,500 on FanDuel, $6,100 on DK. I think there's a lot of upside in that price point, especially considering all the players that are out for Minnesota. He correlates well with some of the Philly value I like. So I think that's a good way to differentiate some of the potential Minnesota Philly stacks.
He's definitely somebody with a wide range of outcomes. Like it would not be surprising if he went for 50 plus. So I don't hate that call. I like that call quite a bit.
Yeah. Cash games, it would be a no. Tournaments.
Right.
I think he's a reasonable way to differentiate some lineups. Did any more super chats come in? Want to make sure that I didn't miss any of those. Oh, here we go. Paul Senzig, play house or hold out to play Roby? I prefer house today.
Yeah, house is fine. He doesn't do a lot for me, but the minutes are safe. The price tag is good. He's averaging 0.46 DraftKings points per minute this year. So if you wanted to fade house and hold out for some later value, I would not fight you on that. I do think it's a riskier approach, but I also think that it could pay off, right? Like there's definitely a scenario where house puts up 15 DraftKings points. And while that's not a killer, I don't think you're winning any tournaments tonight with a 15 in your lineup.
We have a super chat from Joe K for DK Cash, Gobert versus Mo Bamba. If there is no salary constraint there, I prefer Gobert.
Yes, it's close. Wait, Gobert versus Mo Bamba or Bol Bol?
Mo Bamba, he said.
Interesting. Just a $1,300 gap. I have Bamba as the better per dollar value, but if we're just talking raw points, it's Gobert.
Yeah, that's where I'm at as well. Next question here is from Coley Poston. He's playing one lineup in the 888 on DK. Is fading Embiid when ownership probably going to be 70% a bad idea? So Embiid is going to be super, super popular in the high stakes today, but I think you just eat it and play him. I think that he's by far the player should be projected the highest today. Just look at the injury scenario for the Sixers now. James Harden is out. Tyrese Maxey is out. Tobias Harris is out. Embiid, he's doing everything for this team right now, and kind of because he has to. I think you should just be playing Joel Embiid today.
I agree 100%. I've heard people talk about concern of the matchup, and Rudy Gobert is one of the better defensive centers in the league. I don't think he can slow down Joel Embiid, though. And if we're talking, with Tyrese Maxey and James Harden off the court this season, his usage rate skyrockets to 47%. He's averaging 1.82 DraftKings points per minute. I've already bet the over on 33.5 points for him tonight in the prop market. It's a scary matchup, but Joel Embiid might shoot the ball 30 times in this game. And I think that he is just too good that I'm not worried about the defense slowing him down.
Yeah, that's where I'm at as well. My biggest concern here is just what happens if the game starts to become a blowout and it's a tail end of a back-to-back. Do the Sixers kind of pull guys early? Outside of that, though, if the game stays competitive, it's because Joel Embiid played well. Like, there isn't really a scenario, in my opinion, where Embiid sucks tonight and the game stays close. With so many guys out for the Philadelphia 76ers, is Shake Milton going to score 30 points and lead the offense? Probably not. I think it would have to be because Joel Embiid plays well. So that's the only thing I'd be concerned about, is a potential blowout. But with that said, the Timberwolves have been a massively disappointing team this year, and the spread is only 3.5 points. I can't really weigh too heavily the blowout risk here because this is the tightest spread of any game on the slate. Clippers favored by 9 over the Spurs. Blazers, they're favored by 4 over the Jazz. The Pacers favored by 6.5 over the Magic. If I say that I don't want to play Sixers because I'm afraid of injury risk, well, a blowout risk, at least per the odds, this game has the least blowout risk of any game on the slate.
Yeah, it's a fair point.
Let's see if we got some more questions in the Discord channel that came through. And I'm pretty sure I saw a couple come across before.
I did see some people say, Tobias Harris not officially out yet, but unlikely was the word.
He's doubtful. It was, I know we have to deal with this idiot Glenn Rivers, who comes out and just gives us weird, he never tells the truth. He's a dirty, filthy liar. And he said before, and by the way, Tobias Harris is listed as doubtful. And what Glenn Rivers said is he's unsure if Harris will play Saturday. So Tobias Harris is a game time decision, officially listed as doubtful. I'm assuming he's going to be out. If we find out otherwise in the next 40 minutes, which I don't think is going to be the case, I'm going to be swapping on to Tobias Harris where I can. And that'll also change the exposure I get to other Sixers guys. But seems like you're on the same page as me. We're anticipating no Tobias Harris.
Yeah. And the one guy that it would not affect is Joel Embiid.
Yeah.
Like, I would still feel just as high on him as I do now.
We have a super chat from Rick Rader. It is a sticker of a lemon. Oh, usually we get the peach. This is a lemon waving, and my eyesight isn't good to see what it is that's sitting next to. Maybe a baby lemon that's also waving. Thank you for the super chat, Rick. We appreciate you. We appreciate you. Also in the Discord channel, Mr. Moneybags wants to know Cat and House or Franz Wagner and Okiki. I prefer Karl Anthony Towns and Daniel House.
Yeah, I think you have to take that side. We haven't talked about Towns yet. I don't mind some Towns Embiid stacks tonight since you can play Towns at power forward. Again, you've kind of said Paul George. You like Paul George. I'm not really on Paul George. I would rather play the guys around him, Damian Lillard, Tyrese Halliburton, and Karl Anthony Towns. We know these guys don't like each other, right? Like, it's a spot where I think both of these dudes are going to try to make the other one look foolish at times.
And I mean, also just once again, getting back to the Sixers standpoint, there's so much usage, playmaking available that when you're allocating where the ball is going to go to in projections, you just have to assume a lot of it goes to Joel Embiid because who else is it going to go to? Let's get back to the forwards and I'll recap some of our favorite guys there. Gang Green wants to know if we have any Keldon Johnson love. He's in my lineups. I don't know. I would call it love for him though, because I just have so many other players that I have more exposure to. He's not one of my most rostered players, but we're about to recap our most rostered forwards. Is Keldon Johnson one of those guys for you?
So on FanDuel, I have a solid bit of him. You can play him at power forward. He's a little bit cheaper on FanDuel. I do think that he's a good mid-range play there. He's not as exciting on DraftKings where he's only power forward. I believe he doesn't have that, or he's only small forward. It's one of the two. Yeah, he's small forward only. So not as appealing to me there, but on FanDuel, I think he's a pretty good play.
Let's see. My FanDuel builds, I got to him more than I did on DraftKings, but there's still other guys I get to more. So for me, my most rostered forwards today, Franz Wagner, Daniel House. As somebody who's a little bit more of a contrarian play and somebody who I've been playing a good amount of this year, Jalen Smith, who's around 20% owned. Once again, not like totally unowned, but still picking up less ownership than some other players, 14% owned over on FanDuel. Just talk about a guy with a really wide range of outcomes. And it's because of the minutes. This guy's minutes are impossible to predict, but he does have power forward eligibility, as opposed to before when we were talking about Nurkic and his minutes being hard to predict. He only has center eligibility. And that's where I just have other guys I prefer at center. But for power forward purposes, Jalen Smith could play anywhere from 18 to 34 minutes today. It's just somebody whose playing time is all over the place. And we've seen some massive games for him when the minutes are there. So last game, for instance, he got to 30 minutes. He scored 47 fantasy points. And then you go back last week, he had a game where he played 18 minutes and scored 13 minutes. The game before, he played 29 minutes and scored 35. So very wide range of outcomes, but I don't think that's terrible for tournaments. He's at a reasonable price point. So that's one of the more lower owned plays that I like at forward, even if it's not.
They got him like for free from the Suns, right?
Yeah, and then they signed him to a contract extension. The Suns actually, there are of first round of top 10 picks or something like that of the last 20 years. There's only been 4 that have not had their third-year option picked up, and the Suns have 3 of them. Jalen Smith is one, Earl Clark is one, and
got to be like Dragan Bender or Marquise Chris.
Kendall Marshall.
Okay.
He was a guard from UNC. I'm fairly sure that I have the right information there.
That's pretty bad that like Dragan Bender and Marquise Chris are not considered huge misses by your franchise.
Not relative to other guys. By the way, also people who are upset about the Keldon Johnson thing from the other night, if you were watching live before lock, we had told everybody Keldon Johnson wasn't going to be playing. So we were on top of that one. All the more reason to watch the show up until lock, because you never know what could change. Even with 4 minutes left to go here, the Keldon Johnson news that day broke super late that he wasn't in the starting lineup. But let's go over the centers where, to me, Joel Embiid, Bol, Mo Bamba, those are the players that I like the most at center. Rudy Gobert, I'm a little bit underweight to, just because there's other centers I like and he's really popular, but those are the ones I get to the most of. How about you? Centers, who are your priorities?
Yeah, it's definitely Embiid, Bamba, and Bol. The tournament guy for me is Miles Turner. I have no problem using him in a 2-center build alongside Joel Embiid. I really think this guy's upside at 7,300 is 50 plus. I mean, he's gone for 60. So 50 plus is not even all that aggressive. It's just whether or not he's going to get the minutes. He's got to stay out of foul trouble. But the whole Pacers front court, it's impossible to predict their minutes on a nightly basis. Maybe against Orlando, who is starting 2 legit 7-foot dudes, they will play Miles Turner more minutes in this spot. But even if he doesn't, I think he can return value. So Turner's one of my guys until he's priced properly. And I don't think he's at that point yet. He's somebody that I'm playing on basically a nightly basis.
And to what Chuck Deuce has said in the chat that Jalen Smith isn't good, I agree with you. Jalen Smith is not particularly good, but it's not that he plays 18 minutes every game. The playing time is all over the place. So the last handful of games, we've seen him, he played 30 last night and scored 47 fantasy points in those games. It's that variance in the playing time, though, that keeps his price at a point where it does have upside, because there's going to be games mixed in where he's played. Listen to this 4-game stretch from 2 weeks ago from Jalen Smith. 34 minutes, 26 minutes, 11 minutes, 29 minutes, 18 minutes. Now, what happens is the games where he plays a bunch of minutes, he's scoring 35 fantasy points. And then he's these games where he plays 18, 11 minutes and he scores 12 fantasy points. So he's getting priced for the in-between number. But when you get those numbers where the games where the minutes are high, he just far outseeds where his salary is at. So for tournaments, it's kind of perfect. For cash games, stray far away. But yeah, I like Jalen Smith. And I don't even care. I agree with you that he isn't particularly good for real life. I also just don't care because it's fantasy production. He's a good fantasy producer.
I think the Suns should have kept them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it would make a massive difference for them, but giving him away for nothing didn't really help them with anything either. Let's see if we had any more questions in the Discord chat. We are 1 minute away from lock, but not going anywhere. The next 30 minutes, Matt and I were going to look for some of our favorite bets for the later games. We're going to be sweating the games that are going on. We'll be checking on some of the ownership. So stick around. Also, any injury news that breaks, we're still waiting on Jakob Poeltl. We don't know if he's in or out. We don't know what the starting line for the Spurs is going to be. That could break in the next 30 minutes. We'll tell you guys how to handle that information. We got a question from Jets World saying, would you play Bol and Bamba together in the 888 or leave Bassi in the flex just in case? I'm fine with Bol and Bamba in the same lineups. They're cheap enough and are both good enough points from the fantasy producers where I don't think it's problematic.
Yeah, and leaving Bassi in the flex is just, it's very risky because that's the last game of the night. You're not leaving yourself a ton of pivot flexibility, right? Like, you can go to like Keita Bates Jop, I guess, but do you really want to play Keita Bates Jop? I don't know. I have no problem with the Magic big men together.
Pick two out of Turner, Grant, or Bol. That is Bol and Turner for me.
Yes.
All right, that brings us to lock. Guys, thank you very much for watching, but don't go anywhere. If you do like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel before you leave. But we've got 30 more minutes of Matt and I sitting here and sweating the games and talking about some bets. And that's what I think we should do right now. Mike, can you do me a favor and pull up Odd Shopper? Because we're going to look at Odd Shopper right now and try to find some bets that we like. Off the top of your head, Matt, I think things obviously could have changed, but was there any bets that you liked coming into today?
Yeah, so I told you I locked this one in earlier.
Oh, sorry to cut you off. Tobias Harris officially ruled out. So was listed as doubtful. We knew that he was going to be coming down to a game time decision. Now officially ruled out. Glenn Rivers telling us he's unsure if he's going to play or not. It's probably because Glenn doesn't know anything about anything. Tobias officially out. All right, sorry. Go
calling
ahead.
him Glenn.
What's his name?
I
He's
bet
not a doctor
the over
of anything.
Well, was Dr. J a doctor?
Yeah, he was a doctor of funk and he was a basketball professor. Glenn Rivers is just an idiot who throws random guys on the court at random times. He's like, oh yeah, I guess Montrezl Harrell's good to play now. No, he doesn't. Did you see the Montrezl Harrell video with Giannis last night?
I heard. I watched the majority of that game, but I missed that part for some reason.
So the game ends and Giannis shot, what do you go, 5 of 14 from the free throw line, something like that.
Yes.
He wasn't able to make any of his free throws. So after the game, he tries to stick around to stay on the court and shoot free throws. And Montrezl Harrell just walks on the court and takes the basketball away after he takes a shot and just starts walking away with it. And Giannis is pretty non-confrontational. He's like, what the hell is going on here? His brother goes out and tries to confront Montrezl Harrell. That almost starts a fight. Then Giannis knocks over a ladder for some reason. It was very weird. I don't know what it was that was happening.
Not to mention, you would think that they have other basketballs that he could just get, right? Was Harrell just going to stand there and steal basketballs all night? Because that would have been hilarious.
So we've got David Henry saying that Giannis was wrong. It's not your home arena and workers have to set up for the next game. It's pretty common for players to sit around and shoot after a game ends.
That's also not Montrezl Harrell's job to enforce.
But the other thing too is just players stay after games to shoot fair. Like it's not some uncommon thing. But didn't so I guess okay. All right. Fair enough. If the latter happened first, I could understand Harold being a little bit annoyed by that. I would like to hear some video with actual stuff that happened. Overall, by the way, basketball, I make fun of wrestling for being fake. This isn't that far off. This is all nonsense drama as well, but I really do enjoy it.
It's always the guys like Montrez too, as somebody said, 1.1 rebound, but he's got to play the role of bouncer.
Well,
anyway, back to important things. I already bet the over on Joel Embiid's scoring prop.
Yes, I remember you mentioning that. It's a very high number, and I understand why you did. And I'm pretty sure we have him projected over at Odd Shopper. I'm pulling up our most recent projections. I think we have him for like 36 is our points projection for him, which I think is totally reasonable. It actually went up since this morning. We have Joel Embiid, or since this afternoon. Joel Embiid projected for 37.2 points. It's a big number, but I understand
big boy number. Yeah, and the line is 33.5. We've seen Joel score 50 in the last couple of games. He's gonna post a 45% usage rate tonight. As long as this game stays competitive and he gets his minutes, I don't see why he can't go over this number.
Let me look at some of the alternate lines for Joel Embiid scoring. I want to run some of these past you and just let you know what you think of them. I'm going to look at them right now, because sometimes when players, if I think that there's a good reason to think their scoring has a lot of upside, sometimes just as much as I would like the regular, over points prop, sometimes I also look at all right, what is it for 35 plus points? What is it for 40 plus points? So let's see what some of those look like on Joel Embiid. What would the line have to be for him to score 40 plus points for you to take a bite at it?
I don't know, maybe like plus 300, plus 250, plus 300.
Plus 290.
Okay.
Plus 290 for Joel Embiid. Let me see also, because sometimes if you look at the other alternate lines, you get even better numbers, but nope, nothing here. I wish there was like a 50 plus one that was like 10 to 1 or something.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go.
Mike's running the clip.
Mike's got the video up. All right. So we've got Giannis. By the way, though, Giannis, is this the start of the video? That wasn't really an aggressive move. He just kind of pushed it away to the side.
Okay. That was a little aggressive.
It was a little aggressive. I do think it's weird, though, to be somebody who's cleaning the court and you see he's shooting and you just go over and start putting a ladder up underneath the basket. Yeah. Is it just me, or is Giannis taller than that guy, too?
Giannis is my favorite player in the league. You're not going to get me to say anything bad about him.
To be honest, I disagree with everybody involved in this situation. I think everybody involved is in the wrong. But the guy who also, what do they do that he needs a ladder above the rim that they can't leave until he climbs up on top of the basket? Does he even need to do that? What is his job that he needs to climb up on the basket?
The shot clock, something with the shot clock. They have to take it out or unplug it. Who knows?
All right. So now we've. All right. It's hard to know without volume also. I don't know what they're saying to each other.
You know what, though, too? I do respect the fact that these are dudes that are just working at the stadium and they just want to go home. And now they got.
I have no doubt about it. The guy just wants to leave. But at the same time, too, do players not shoot after basically every single game?
I don't know. I mean, I thought they did. You hear all these stories about Kobe and how he would have these maniacal workouts after games and stuff, but maybe it was when they were at home, and the fact that this is a road game is different. Who knows?
There we go. I like the drama, though. So now, I mean, there's going to be a little heat the next time the Bucks play the Sixers. Montrezl Harrell's on the bench and doesn't check in. It's going to be, do they have to play Montrezl Harrell that game now? Now this could be a reason to bet against the 76ers, because now they're obligated to play terrible Montrezl Harrell.
Ninth man of the year, Montrezl Harrell.
Yeah, 13th man of the year, Montrezl Harrell. And there's 12 active players. Anyway, I agree with you. I think Joel Embiid, the over for the points, is certainly something sensible to look at. I'm trying to find what else is. Oh, here's a number that we have that I think can make some sense, mostly because of the plus money on it. So Colin Sexton has an over-under of 2.5 rebounds. We have him projected for 2.8. So it's not really like it's pretty close to a fair number, but it's plus 140 on the over. And something else too with Colin Sexton in some of these situations, I know that they haven't been resting Mike Conley in back-to-backs, but I always think there's chance for, hey, maybe if he's a little fatigued, we give Sexton a couple extra minutes in these spots. We dial back Mike Conley a little bit. If Sexton gets to like 24, 25 minutes in this game, I think the 2.5 rebound line is very fair. It's just that it's plus money on the over of something that I think is a 50-50 bet.
Yeah, I mean, the number's probably pretty fair, even if Conley is in the lineup. So I think that that's fine logic to use. I'm never going to say no to a plus 140 bet that we have pretty much graded as a coin flip. So that seems like a really strong lean. Another plus money one, Josh Hart over 7.5 rebounds. 7.5 rebounds is a lot for a guard, but Josh Hart is routinely ripping down 8+ boards. He's averaging 8.4 for the year. So I have no problem, taking the over on that at plus 115. Not quite the same in terms of plus money, but any plus money prop is usually pretty good business when you think it's a winnable one.
Yeah, that's Sexton. I think the Hart one makes sense as well. By the way, also just because people are talking about it, to get back to, it's not the issue I had with the way that the work went about the thing. It was not the point that I'm saying he shouldn't be doing his job. It's the way that it looks like. And once again, I would need audio. Giannis is in the middle of shooting free throws and he just puts the ladder in like blocking him. Right. So to me, it seemed like he didn't approach it in the right way. It didn't seem like Giannis approached it in the right way. And the Montrezl Harrell just came out and stole the basketball. Like everybody, to me, it seemed very petulant on all ends. But it just seemed like there was better ways that everybody could have handled it.
Yeah.
Right? The guy, if the guy's job is to clean it up, I'm sure. And once again, this is something that's lost by not having audio. If he goes up to Giannis and says, "Hey, I have to clean this up. I have to do my job. Is it okay if you stop shooting free throws so that I can finish my job for the night?" But from my vantage point, what it looked like he did was he just put the ladder in the way of Giannis shooting. That was the issue I had with it. Does that follow?
Yeah, makes sense. By the way, Greg, slate's over if you didn't play Bowl. That's the word on the street.
All right, let's go check it out. Bowl. What is Bowl doing? Well, it looks like the game hasn't. Oh no, it has started.
I don't see anything.
It's 3-0. By the way, did you see the
Jalen Suggs 3-pointer?
Yeah, there we go. Jalen Suggs from Franz Wagner. So yeah, Bowl, no fantasy points yet. I'm gonna pull up the $15 on DK. I'm curious to see where some of these players' ownership ended up coming in. All right, I'm overweight to Jalen Suggs, so I'm up money early. That's a sign of good things to come. Jalen Suggs.
Oh, there's a Miles Turner free throw. God, I'm so at the top of the leaderboard right now.
Who fouled him?
Mo Bamba.
Oh my God, Mo Bamba. Is he going to do it again? Is he going to do immediate foul trouble? The other game. Well, let's see how similar it is to the last game. Is it going to be where is he going to shoot 4 threes and miss all of them in the first quarter, then not check in for a while? Bamba over under said Bamba to the bench already. Is that true? It's hard.
No.
I'd have to.
These guys are all trying to get us, because I was reading the chat and that's where I was like, oh, Bowl must be going off.
Well, we do. El Cuatro Loco says that he bet on Suggs to have the first basket and method of first basket 3-pointer.
There you go.
What were the odds on that? I'm curious.
I'm gonna guess that was about 19-1.
I don't know what that would be. Bamba on fire now. People are saying Bamba hit a 3. Oh my God, Bamba. 8-1. Pacers off to a quick start. Bamba 3 points and a rebound in the first minute of the game now. Best play on the slate now, according to some.
Marshall White says 5 blocks for Bamba. Not again, Marshall. I'm not falling for it this time.
El Quattro Loco plus 800 on the first basket and plus 2,900 on the three-pointer.
Wow.
Well, that's a nice.
I would have thought he was like a 6-1 first basket type of guy, not an 8-1. That's a good bet.
So, by the way, with some of those bets, in general, I don't think they have the best value. But if you could get in on one of those scenarios where it's like Wendell Carter Jr. isn't playing, there's value on pretty much everybody if you're beating the books to the lines on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I have to write about those props 3 days a week, and they are brutal. I mean, the amount, I am impressed at the amount of like research that some people put into it, and what position, the certain teams allow the first basket to, and tip off data, and they do a good job, but it still seems like it's kind of a crapshoot because you can get everything right. You can predict who's going to win the tip. You can predict who's going to take the first shot for their team, but then they have to make the shot, and it's definitely a little sketchy.
I know there's some people who get really into some of the granular stuff, like, oh, what percentage do you guys win tip-offs? I can't imagine there's that much of an edge with some of that stuff, but hey, people get into it, and it is a popular bet, which is why I know that you have to cover some of it for DK. We've got a question in our Discord from Jordan3142. And once again, guys, if you want the easiest, cheapest way to get exposure to all the tools we have over at Stokastic.com, BetMGM. You sign up, click on the link when you do, and you get 2 free months of a Stokastic Plus Platinum package. Jordan3142 wants to know House and Kyle Anderson or Josh Richardson and Jeremy Sokan. I don't like why I don't think those have to be the options today. I mean, I just don't think they have to be.
Those are kind of rough.
I like House. So I mean, the answer to me would be House and Kyle Anderson, just because I prefer them to Richardson and Sokan.
Yeah. Yes. House is clearly the best of those 4 plays.
El Quattro Loco says it's more of a volume play. Like it only takes 1 hit to cover, having 2 units on it, kind of like Homer Tuesday. Hey, I hope that you had some good money on that, because I mean, 29-1, that's always a good hit. By the way,
I do like the exact method if you're going to go that route, right? Like I feel like it's such a crapshoot anyway. So if you can identify a player where like Anthony Simons is somebody that I love to do that with. If I'm going to bet Anthony Simons to score the first basket, I'm going to take Anthony Simons to score the first basket via a 3-pointer. Because more than 50% of the guy's shots come from downtown, and you're going to get more, obviously a much better payout. So I don't mind some of those, because I think the odds on those are a little bit more fair, but on first basket stuff, it's tough.
Well, so I guess the question is, can you parlay them? Because I don't look at them that often. So can you do a same game parlay where it's first basket to be a 3-pointer and first basket to be Jalen Suggs? Because then you're actually getting some of the correlation. You know what I'm saying?
I believe you can parlay them. I don't know if you can like same game parlay some of this stuff, but
well, either way, it could be because it's still a parlay from the same game.
El Quattro says he's already got Simon's 3-pointer in tonight. There you go.
My fellow Arc, I hope Pirtle gets ruled out and we get Bassey 76ers day. Yeah, I think all of us are rooting for the 76ers today. 76ers key part of pretty much everybody's lineups. If the 76ers all dud and you somehow faded them, then you're going to make a lot of money today. I don't think that's going to be the scenario though. By the way, Chad is going nuts about Mo Bamba. So we've actually got, I like this bit a lot. We've got people just going crazy in here. From David Z. Brown, Bamba's now chopping off Turner's head with a chainsaw. Oh my God. Yeah.
That might be a flagrant 2. We're going to have to review it.
It's a flagrant 2. We'll have to review it and see where, by the way, did you see because I wonder if this was also correlated to the beef that Giannis and the 76ers had last night. How is that not a flagrant 2 on Joel Embiid yesterday in transition? Do you know the play I'm talking about?
Yes.
That seemed like a blatant flagrant 2 to me.
Who knows, man? I've reached the point where it's like, I just assume everything is going to be one worse than it actually is. So the fact that it wasn't a flagrant 2, honestly, was very surprising, right? Because like I'll see a foul and I'll say, yeah, that's a common foul, and it's a flagrant 1. So it's just it always seems like it's one more than I feel like it should be.
That to me though, I mean, he's in transition. Embiid just, and by the way, this is how big and strong Giannis is. Embiid lowers his shoulder into Giannis and basically tries to hip check him while he's in transition. Giannis kind of ran through him and Embiid got knocked down, even though Embiid was the one who was imposing more force on him. But some more here. Humboldt 707. Bamba just made the All-Star team. Oh, nice. They made it official. Let's see if there was any other good ones.
Stay on says LaMarca played big boy power forward in high school. I wasn't quite as fat when I was in high school, but I did play power forward. You are correct. I was a 6'0" power forward, just getting dunked on 3 times a week.
Yeah, those were the chainsaw one. I thought was the best Mo Bamba comment. By the way, overall, what's funny about this also is that now 5 minutes into the game, he's got 3 points and a rebound. So it's a good but very nondescript start for him overall. It's not like anything out of the ordinary has happened. What I also enjoy when there's only one game going on is that everybody just gets so hyper focused on the one game and overreacts to every single individual event that happens at any given time. But Jalen Suggs, 5 points, 2 assists. So Suggs is so far the guy who's doing the most in the scoring department in that game, at least on the Magic side. On the Pacer side, Tyrese Halliburton, 7 points and 2 assists. Yeah, I like the meme, Mike.
What did the Halliburton ownership come in at?
I'm checking that out right now. So in the $15 on DK, load. Oh, nope, never mind. That is, I opened up my UFC lineups. All right, so for Halliburton ended up being only 16% owned on DK.
Oh,
love
tasty. It. So tasty. That makes me want to do the Mike Pereira.
What's the Mike Pereira?
You didn't see that video.
But was there an explanation of that? Was there an explanation of that? People don't know that. People don't know that that's what Matt does to us before every single show, before we start.
Mike Pereira got that freak in him.
Mike, can you find that on Twitter and put that up? Do you know what we're talking about? All right. So it's a little bit of a background here for what producer Mike is about to pull up. For whatever reason, a video comes up, Mike Pereira, the referee extraordinaire for NFL games. He was caught on camera. He's no longer live. He's just doing some weird tongue thing to somebody in the background. People are saying Bol got hurt. Is that true? I never know. It's hard to know what's real, what's not.
I haven't seen anything about Bol leaving the court yet, so.
Yeah.
Halliburton, though, another bucket.
I love how, by the way, I was so devastated last night when I thought he actually got hurt because Halliburton's on almost all of my best ball teams, which, I mean, who knows how they're doing right now because DraftKings hasn't updated the scoring in like 2 weeks, but I feel like my best ball teams are doing pretty well right now. But I've Halliburton on a lot of those teams, and I love Halliburton. I've got bets out. Here we go. Here's the Mike Pereira. Run the clip. Yeah, very disturbing. Very disturbing. This is, you know what else? So for whatever reason, also, Eric Lindquist sends me a video of him doing this every night before he goes to bed. Every night, without fail, he sends me a video of him doing this. But I want to know from chat. What do you guys think it was that Mike Pereira was? Who was he doing that to?
Oh my God.
It is. It's very. See, stay on. It's so bad. Caleb M. WTF drill bit. It's what gets the people going.
One of my favorite videos ever. It's just so inappropriate. Whoever he was doing it to, they can own Mike Pereira if they want to.
And there's been no follow up on it. It just happened in the air and disappeared. Like there was no explanation, at least not that I've heard about. Let me see if I could search.
Anyway, that's what Tyrese Halliburton's 16% ownership makes me want to do.
I mean, I dig it. It doesn't make me quite want to do that. All right. Mike Pereira. Yeah, I'm just looking through Twitter to see if there was any kind of explanation, but there isn't. There's no, it's just, this is what he does when he gets off camera. It's just how he interacts with people. So, he was probably doing that too. Mo Bamba after he hit the first three of the game.
Damn right.
Yeah. Let's see what ended up happening out of the timeout. Did the game come back yet? No. Oh no, it did. Okay. So coming out of the timeout, Mo Bamba's still in. You know how I know he's still in? Because he turned the ball over immediately out of the timeout. So he's good. It was Bol people were saying got hurt.
Well,
Bol
just
still in as well. Bol's still in as well.
Yeah.
Bol nuke, according to over under. Yeah, every time somebody does something, no Bol, no cash. Bol popping off. Who's the player on this slate that you don't have exposure to that you're most afraid of just destroying your lineups?
Probably Paul George. I ended up going like 10% Paul George. Maybe that'll honestly be in line with the field. We don't have him projected for very much ownership, but he was kind of the high price player that I shied away from the most.
For me, it is so Anthony Edwards was projected for about 25% ownership on DK and 33 on FanDuel. Somebody's going to have a big game for Minnesota. I would much prefer it's Rudy Gobert, Karl Anthony Towns than Anthony Edwards or D'Angelo Russell for that matter. Yeah. I have 10% of Anthony Edwards, so I'm well underneath the field. Anthony Edwards just having a massive game would not be great for me today. And it's within the realm of possibilities for sure. It's just that you never know on any one individual basis who it is that could be. But then on the flip side, who's the player you have a lot of exposure to that you're afraid could just suck and tank your lineups?
Miles Turner is one possibility. I would say, based on ownership projections, he's probably the guy I'm going to be the most overweight on. Yeah, I think that's the best answer. If he goes for like 30 or less, I'm gonna be in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, I know that some people like. All right, I have a bunch of Mo Bamba, but so does the field. Bamba, actually, by the way, since we were talking about that crazy, Mo Bamba's done nothing since the crazy good start. He has actually scored he scored negative 2 FanDuel points and negative 1 DK points since the 3 that happened before. But I mean, I have a lot of Bol, I have a lot of Mo Bamba, but so does the field. So it's not like any of these guys doing something is going to be something that makes or breaks my lineups. Yeah, Edwards the one that I'm most afraid of that I don't have. Let's try to find one more bet before we head
Eric
out here.
Trav says no Pereira, no cash. I like
no
that.
Pereira, no cash. Well, it's true because of the lawsuit. if you get the lawsuit for working with Mike Pereira, and you're doing good for yourself there. I hope more information comes out on that.
I want the apology. I was caught on camera, and I just want to say it's not the type of man that I am.
I just want to know if that would warrant a 15-yard penalty in football. That's what I want the explanation. I want to know how many yards that would be worth as a penalty in football.
Yeah, that's fair.
Let's go back over to Odd Chopper and see if there's any more bets that we could close out the night with. Here's one that's where do I have House? So House has been confirmed the starter. House could play a ton of minutes. His over under for rebounds is 3.5. It's plus 120 on the over on that. I like that number as well. We have him project for 4.4 over at Odd Chopper today. The over expected win 64% of the time. 3.5 is a really low number for a guy who might just have to play over 30 minutes today.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable to me. I mean, I do think that's, he's not going to be getting his fantasy points through scoring for the most part. Picking up 4 boards is very doable with that much playing time.
By the way, I have bets. I'm scared to admit this. I ended up betting on World Cup soccer. How do you think that's going to go?
Probably not well. Am I unpatriotic if I fade the US?
No. I did that once. There was a US women's national soccer game where I bet
you don't fade
them.
the US women. They're the balls.
except they were a massive favorite in one spot, and it was like 98% of the betting tickets were on them, and it was a lot of weird line movement. So I took the other side. I was the only one rooting for, it was like Japan or somebody in the game going against them. I don't even remember what it was. But no, I think you're making it's like you're a Mets fan, right? If you bet against the Mets, doesn't mean that you're an unloyal Mets fan, or is it just you've watched enough Mets that you have some common sense?
Yeah, I mean, I don't bet against the Mets very often, to be honest. I would rather just not bet the game. But betting against like the Jets, I'll do that every week if I have to.
I have futures bets on the Jets this year. I have
Get out of here. Just like over on their win total, or
I have them to make the playoffs.
Okay. Hey, good for you. You're good at those types of stuff.
It was, although to be fair, I bet them during, it wasn't like I bet them before the season. It was during the season, but still there's certain stuff. Cause I think there's a lot of times that people are really slow to adjust to new information. Like I bet the Giants plus 180 to make the playoffs a few games into the year. Cause you get to a point where a team is 4-1, I think was the record at the time. If they have that much plus money, I'm pretty sure that's what the number was, plus 180. They were already, if you were looking at, like 538, looking at Football Outsiders, their projections, it's a spot where at that point they had them as like they're 60% likely to make the playoffs, and just books haven't quite adjusted to it yet. So a lot of that stuff, like the Jazz being another one, people come in with these preconceived notions. This team is good, this team is bad. And then they just leave that as being the information they have about that team and not adjusting to it. It's the same thing too. Here's what I think is the number one mistake that recreational sports bettors make. Is if a team that they think should win a game is trailing early, they just auto bet the team with no consideration for what's happening in the game. Like to me, that's the biggest way that I think people may lose money on sports betting is they're like, oh, I think the Warriors should beat the Knicks today. I don't care if the Warriors are down 20, they're going to win. I'm just going to go bet them. And it's already priced in. Like what's ever happened is already priced into the situation. So that's what I'm going to close with. Little betting thing. Don't blindly bet teams because they're losing. It's not a good, because the
unless
team's
it's
losing.
The Chiefs. If the Chiefs ever get to plus money on the money line, you take them live. That's my caveat.
You know what's funny? The books don't even do that anymore. If the Chiefs are down 7 points towards the tail end of a game, they'll still be like minus 180.
Yeah, you got to get them. They have to fall down by like 2 touchdowns, basically. All
right, guys. That's going to wrap up today's show. If you haven't done it yet, do us a big favor. Like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel. You're watching football tomorrow. Enjoy it. Thanksgiving next week. You're going to be away with the family. Enjoy that as well. For myself and Mike Pereira, have a good rest of the weekend, everybody. Yeah.